What's up, everybody? We are live. Even if you are not, it is episode 45 of the
It is.
Hardcore Casual Broadcast. He is Jay of F1 Podcast
I
fame.
am.
I am Mason of Radio Infamy, and we are the conversation at the awards podium behind you. Welcome, everybody. 'Tis the season. It is that time of year. It is time for the most sacred of American holidays, the Game Awards. The Keeleys are upon us.
The Keeleys.
So that will be a huge focus of tonight's program. We're going to go through all of the categories, tell you what we think, who we think is going to win, who we want to win. Probably make some jokes at some people's expense, but that will be a large part of it. We're going to talk some Subnautica 2 drama with the ongoing legal insanity that Jay brought up to our attention whenever that whole thing broke weeks or months ago. Predator Badlands, Jay has now seen it, so we are going to get into some spoilery details. We'll save that for the very end. So if you're watching this and you haven't seen Predator Badlands, you can watch the entirety of most everything else and still just not listen to that bit. But that also ties into something else that I want to talk about, which there's a few things. We'll get more into it in more detail. But there were some things this week that led me to kind of ponder the question of movie magic and some of the things that maybe we've lost in the current landscape and what we might be able to do to get it back and where we are on that. There's a few things. I even had a conversation with Whitney this morning that even added another layer to that. So we're going to be talking about that. And then we've also got a lot of other things. And some of these things will actually kind of
stuff.
I know. I was going to say, I was like, some of this stuff also come up organically as we go through the Game Award stuff. And then we also have some other standalone updates that we've got. So I know Jay has his finger on the pulse of, some of these things. So we got like the, let's see, you got some stuff on the Expanse, right? Osiris?
Yeah. So I've got an overview on a very specific part of the Expanse, which will be technically the most important part. And then another, we had the Q branch kind of primer for 007 First Light. Tonight I have another primer, which is, very iconic. So I want to go through that as well. And yeah, other than that, everything else I'm pretty in line with you on as far as the Game Awards, but we'll see how that goes and how much ibuprofen I need at the end of this episode.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Again, we are getting back in the swing of things. The move is done again, so we're trying to get back into the way that we had been going, getting the cadence, try to get some edited videos out there as well as we go through it. So it's going to take us a little bit, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, is there anything else that we need to touch on? Any housekeeping or anything that you want to touch on, or rants you want to get out there before we dive into anything?
Yeah, I did want to talk about something really quick because it doesn't have anything to do with any of the other things. And, seldom we bring it up on this show, some of the things that due to subscriptions or whatever that we have access to. And a lot of times those streaming services and access services let us down. But PS Plus has some pretty decent bangers that were released on the PS Plus Extra list this month. One of them I know you like a lot, which is Pacific Drive. So what is Pacific Drive and how does it play?
Pacific Drive is definitely...
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're good. Pacific Drive is definitely it's hard to put a particular pin on it. It's very much its own thing. It has elements of a lot of different things where actually part of it is it's actually part extraction shooter to an extent. Would
have never thought that.
So basically, instead of kind of like saying what it is, I'll just kind of do a summary of what it is, how it plays. So essentially, you have a car and
station wagon, right?
Yeah, and so you have this vehicle, and this is sort of like, this is your thing. This is you have to keep it going. You upgrade it. If it gets damaged, you have to repair it. And this is your thing this is your steed that you have to take through the entire game. And as you have to make upgrades, repairs, and things like that, and I won't get into the reasons why you're driving this or why you're having to do this, because that's part of the game, is uncovering this great sci-fi story that they've kind of compiled that you do as you do these runs. But you have to go out in certain areas that, for reasons, are dangerous and hazardous, have many different hazards that can cause problems. You go out there, you find these different elements, and you have to safely extract to get back to your home base, which is a garage. And then you can use those elements to build up your car and do whatever else you might need to do to progress through the story. So it has sort of like roguelike elements, extraction shooter type elements, all sorts of stuff like that. It's just a really interesting take if you are interested in survival horror, if you're interested in car games, if you're interested in, extraction shooters, all these different little elements. I think if you're interested in any of those sort of aspects, I would say give this a try, and you might find that you like the other aspects even more than you thought. The only thing that I will let you know, and the more you play it and the more you learn how to operate the different functions that you have to do, you understand why it kind of has to be this way. But it's a port of a PC game, and the controls are more complex than you are accustomed to for a console. So if you play it on PlayStation, it's way more complex. So if you need to, change the gears, you'll have to look at the stick shift and change the gears.
Yeah, classic PC.
Yeah, so you'll have to sort of get used to the way that handles. But anyway, so that's Pacific Drive. Yeah, I do really like it. It was I started. I was interested just because of what I'd heard about it, especially from like Skill Up and other creators. Went into it, loved it. So yeah, couldn't recommend it enough. If any of those things sound interesting to you, definitely give it a shot, especially if it's free or at no additional cost.
Yes, right. So the game that I'm bringing up, actually, I played it on PC. And the funny thing is, I'm not a big horror guy, but I'm a huge fan of games that test the human condition. And Still Wakes the Deep. Surprised you haven't played it, considering what you just said, because this game is very survival horror. You were on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean.
Ooh.
There's a storm. There's rogue waves bashing into this place. Your friends are dying all around you. You're trying to basically get from point A to point B in this 6-hour game. So not a lot of investment for a great game. You have no weapons. You have no powers. You have no abilities. In fact, it felt like your dude was kind of out of shape.
So this thing is all about the narrative.
It's in first person. And then all of a sudden, they introduce a paranormal organism that is taking over the oil rig.
This sounds very much like a show that I have watched on Amazon Prime
called The Rig.
Yes.
Right. We were getting there. But it is very much The Rig as a game, but you're the only guy on the rig that is actually alive and still a human. And that last part is very operative. But dude, great game. You have to think. There's so many puzzles, a lot of things you have to think your way out of that aren't going to be easy at first. There's a lot of puzzles where you're like, if I just had, I saw that like 20 minutes ago, and you have to backtrack to get it. It's that kind of, and you'll be scared shitless, dude. It's one of those things that you'll be scared shitless. Which is a thing that you don't really get a lot of these days. Most of it's like, it's jump scares in a lot of games. It's jump scares. They don't do a lot of stuff like the OG Resident Evils, where it's all about building that tension and making you. It's not about jump scares. It's about making you afraid to turn the next corner. Yeah, and I felt like, in that vein, I felt like Resident Evil 2 was on the edge of even the original. And I'm not talking about the remake.
No, I was talking about the originals as well. Like those, that's where they did the
edge of your seat. I'm about to shit my pants. I remember walking down that hall and a liquor came through the seat. I about lost my mind playing that. But, we've brought up a few games on here before. Under the Waves, great game. Pacific Drive, you just brought it up. There's another game that really reminded me of what you were talking about with Pacific Drive, about that wagon being your steed. And it's the Far franchise. There's only 2 games. One of them's the best one is Far Changing Tides, I think, where you have this like airboat and you're in the water. The other one is like you're on land, but it's like still like a boat thing, and you're trying to keep that boat afloat and do this adventure. So yeah, those are great games. The last one I wanted to mention on the PS Plus list is Insurgency Sandstorm, which is a military shooter through and through. There's nothing unrealistic about it. It's the closest on PlayStation, other than Arma Reforger, that you're going to get to actual combat. This is if you get shot in the chest or the head, you're done at all. There's multiplayer PvP and PvE. So if you're tired of the argument between Battlefield and Call of Duty 7 or Black Ops 7, which we're going to get to tonight, then dig into some Insurgency, man. If you got PS Plus Extra, you're getting it for free. It is, you'll get teamed up with randoms a lot in these 4v4 matches, and you'll be fine with it. It's one of the few games where you'll get blended with randoms, and they know what this game is like, because it's one of those, if you leave your squad, you're done, man. I mean, you're done. You're not going to make it. And you'll see people that start out that way, and within 5 or 10 minutes, they're like, where are we going? Where are we going next? Tell me where to go. So, yeah, Insurgency is an absolute stunner of a combat sim game. But that's all I had for those. I just wanted to bring it up because we seldom mention it. Now, last thing is Game Pass is getting a day one release on Marvel Cosmic Invasion. So if you were ever a fan of the X-Men 97 game or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, side-scroller / up and down the screen side-scroller fighting games, it's got an incredible roster for a 2D old-school Double Dragon Fists of Fury style beat-em-up with some decent powers and whatnot. From what I've seen, it looks fantastic. I did not see a release date on it, but it is going to be a day one Game Pass. So that's all I had, dude.
All right. Well, then we will get to the main event of tonight's episode. And as I said, this is the most sacred of American holidays. Used to be, it was Shark Week was what I would consider the most sacred of American holidays. But then Discovery started doing the thing where it was all bullshit. Like none of it was real. It was all these like fake shows and all this. It sucked. So now it's
Rubber
the Game
Sharks,
Awards, the Keeleys. That is our most beloved. So here we are. We're gonna go through all the different categories. And first, I do want to mention, if you want to go, it's thegameawards.com. You can go. You can cast your vote. You can do all this. And I do want to say though, the mobile version of this website sucks, which I was surprised at. But this is a pain to navigate on mobile. I don't know if somebody could write that feedback on Hideo Kojima's stomach so that we could be sure that Jeff Keighley, sees
it's the only way Jeff will see it.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
It could be in one other location where he would see it, but yes, stomach would work.
Yeah, so we need to get that feedback to Jeff because it's awful on mobile. But we're gonna be looking at it here.
Dude, that's stupid too. And the reason why is one of the big things this year is the player's voice and their ability to vote on certain things. And they're going to do it from their phone. So if you have a shitty mobile app, how stupid is that?
It's one of these things. It seems like it's one of these things where it's like trying to automatically convert to be the same sort of thing, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't work well. You try to go to the menu, you click somewhere else. It doesn't take you there. It's a whole thing. I won't get into it, but we will go through all of the categories, but I will let you know that some of these categories Jay and I don't have any input on because not our thing. So if it's your thing, let us know.
Yeah.
Just tell us. Tell us what you think. But we might be just sort of dumbfounded. Case in point, we're going to start here at the very bottom, and that is the best esports team. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know. I don't follow the esports wing of the games media. So
my son is on his esport varsity team for his school. So this is probably
you'll have to ask him for his input.
Well, the thing is, this is probably a huge deal for kids that are part of that team because that connects them to this world globally. So I'm sure they know who all these guys. Like I've heard of Energy before, and I've heard of Team Liquid PH, but as far as impact in my life, it has zero impact. But my hat's off to all these nominees, and because they've obviously worked hard to get to the top of the ladder for the games that they're playing.
System of Rips or System of War, however you may know him, says esports. Yes. So if you have any sort of input on here, feel free to let us know, and anyone else there as well. But yeah, this is one where we don't have any particular feelings strongly on anybody. And then in the same vein, best esports athlete. Also, some of these names I have heard of, but I don't follow.
Yeah,
again,
I've heard of Menard because I've watched him play Street Fighter, which is fun to watch. But dude, I'm like, bow down. You got
people
it.
like
Good
that
job,
are the
dude.
reason that I do not do online fighting games, is because it's like I don't have the fast twitch muscles to go with that. And it's one of those things where it's like you go into these fighting game things online, just be like, hey, let's have some fun, and it's like immediately you just get wiped. So
and I missed the entire League of Legends movement. So
so there you go. The first two, we got nothing for you. But then we get here where we have esports game. This is another one where I don't really have a particular thing here. I just know that it's just impressive that Counter-Strike 2 is still there,
considering that it started as a mod of Half-Life.
Yeah. So crazy thing, but this is basically the same lineup that we've had for years, outside of like Valorant, which is fairly recent addition. As
I'll be honest with you,
Dota and Counter-Strike.
I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised that, only because I know the games that my son's league plays with their schools, I'm surprised Smash Bros ain't on here. And that's saying a lot for me, because I hate bringing up Nintendo.
Well, as we know, Nintendo's very litigious. So whenever it comes, your opportunities to compete in Smash Bros is rather limited.
Yeah,
because they shut those things down pretty quickly. All right, so here we go. Content Creator of the Year. So this is one that I think will be fun. I think this is going to come down. Okay, so I have two that I think would be the ones that I would put as the most likely. However, so I would say Moist Critical or the Burnt Peanut it'd be one of those two.
Only two I know of that list.
So Moist Critical is Charlie, Penguin Zero, obviously a huge YouTuber, and
nice. Thanks, System.
Hey, thank you,
sir.
Hey,
yes,
hardcore casual systems vote. Appreciate
that's our vote as well. Unfortunately, 3 votes isn't going to do it for us.
It's a write-in. It's a write-in.
Write-in vote.
But obviously, Charlie is a massive force on YouTube, and the Burnt Peanut is hilarious, and he's a good watch. So I would say it's going to be one of those two. Obviously, Charlie is doing just fine. In fact, he recently revealed he gave all of the. But from that category would be Moist from me. Okay, System thinks Charlie, and Charlie just recently did a full, absolutely transparent reveal of what he has made on YouTube in throughout his career. Showed exact numbers, exactly how many millions, and so for this reason, I would cast my vote for the Burnt Peanut, just because give this guy a little bit more of a push, get him going. And the only thing, though, I know that this whole the VTuber thing where you have an avatar, which obviously the Burnt Peanut is kind of an avatar, but this Sakura Miko, maybe that'll be a thing. Maybe that'll come. But my thing is probably either Charlie or the Burnt Peanut. I would like to see the Burnt Peanut get it, and I really think that they probably will give it to the Burnt Peanut. But I do like that Charlie is on there. I watch Charlie way more than I watch the Burnt Peanut. I just think the Burnt Peanut could benefit from it a lot more. And as far as like Kai Cenat, I mean, he's kind of doing a lot. He's not just streaming games. He's doing a whole lot of stuff. He's kind of all over the place. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not sure who this guy is. So I'm pulling for the Burnt Peanut. I'm pulling for the Burnt Peanut.
I feel like Brooklyn 999 right now, like all of them need to start singing Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way, just one line at a time so I can figure it out. But yeah,
Yes.
that's the lineup.
All right, let's see. Okay, next category, most anticipated
Great
game.
category.
So we have 007 First Light, Grand Theft Auto 6, Marvel's Wolverine, Resident Evil Requiem, and The Witcher 4.
I'm so excited, and I think it's actually in alphabetical order. I feel like that I'm still going to say 007 got the top nod, but I think a lot of people are maybe disenfranchised right now with GTA too. The delays, so. People don't like delays, but my two on here GTA. Are 007 First Light and Marvel's Wolverine.
So I mean, Wolverine now, there's no denying that these are all. Was it?
Yeah, I said Wolverine's always been was my boy when I was growing up. So I'm excited about that game as well. I think that can be great.
Yeah, there's no denying that these are all. These are great picks for the category because these are obviously all incredibly anticipated games.
GTA is going to get it.
So yeah, this is where would I like it to go? 007 First Light. I believe that is hardcore casual's most anticipated game coming up, especially out of this lineup. We've been excited about it since word dropped, and we've been following it very closely. As much information as we could get, all the little tidbits. So 007 is obviously who I want to see get it, but I just do not see any way Grand Theft does not get this.
So I think we will have some upset categories, and this will
not be one of them.
This would be a great one to have an upset category in, because GTA's in there. I don't think it'll happen either, dude. I'm wishing beyond hope that there's a couple on here that I wish would, even Witcher over GTA, but it won't happen. But
no, GTA.
I think it's important as we go through these categories, having an upset vote would be awesome.
Upset on this one could go either 007 First Light, although I think that most people are not nearly as excited as we are. I think it's a bit more niche. Skewed towards the people that not only love James Bond, but also people that love the Hitman series. If I was going to pick one upset out of this lineup, it would be Marvel's Wolverine.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I would say that would be the more likely to upset.
And the reason I think that that's a good call is because Marvel's Wolverine is going to be an action game. Yeah, you're probably going to have skills, and you're probably going to have, but believe it or not, RPGs can still be very niche for some people. They don't have the patience to sit down and do skill trees and ability, this and that, and they don't like crafting, and Witcher's going to have all of that. So anyway, good call.
So there you go. Who would we like to see win 007 First Light? Who's going to win? It's going to be GTA 6.
Yeah.
All right. Best adaptation. So
happy Splinter Cell got a nod.
This is an interesting lineup. So let me read through them for those that are listening, and then we'll talk a little bit more about them. So we have a Minecraft movie, Devil May Cry, Splinter Cell Death Watch, Last of Us Season 2, and Until Dawn. So
haven't seen it.
Yeah. So okay, Jay, I give you the floor here.
So Last of Us Season 2 sucked.
Yeah, as did the Last of Us 2, the game. Yeah,
just like the game did. So I'm counting them out right now. System thinks Minecraft's got this thing. So I've heard a lot of people loved it, and that's great for people that love Minecraft and love this movie. Huge fan of Jack Black. Do I think this is what's going to win? Yes. I think Minecraft's going to win it.
I don't think so.
For people that are edgy, though, that like edgy, Splinter Cell Death Watch deserves this. If you liked the Jack Ryan show on Prime or Lioness or any of that shit, man, this Splinter Cell Death Watch was the closest thing you're getting to a freaking Sheridan spy, counter espionage flick. And it was fabulous. So I didn't see Devil May Cry either. I think Devil May Cry is so long in the tooth anyway that it just needs to be forgotten. But so I want Splinter Cell Deathwatch, Mason, but I think it's going to end up being Minecraft.
I do not think it'll be Minecraft. However, I did enjoy the
Okay.
Minecraft movie. Oh, System says he did
Wow.
not even know that there's a Splinter Cell show. It is on Netflix, System, and I highly recommend
Yeah.
you watch it. If
You can get through it in a night, dude. The episodes are only like 23 minutes long.
And why? I'll tell you why momentarily. So I did actually like a Minecraft movie. I was terrified that I was not going to like it just because how do you make a movie out of a game that doesn't have a plot? And I was like, this can't work out. Now, was it some sort of award-winning plot? Was it thought-provoking? No, it was ridiculous, but that it was meant to be. And it actually turned out to be a lot of fun. It was good, dumb fun. I actually had a good time. Is it one that I'd be like, oh, dude, you got to see this movie? Absolutely not. But it was one that I did not regret going and seeing with my son and just having a good time. So Minecraft movie was fun, but I don't think that it will get it because you're going to have, this is obviously going to be more directed towards more serious gamers, hardcore, or at least people that are actually within the gaming community, not just people that are watching Minecraft videos on YouTube. So Devil May Cry anime as well, did well, had great reviews. Like you said, though, Devil May Cry, while all of us gamers know it, it doesn't have the same immediate recognition and cachet that like Resident Evil has, which it was a spinoff from, or was intended to be a Resident Evil game when they started developing it before it became what it ended up being. So I don't think it's there. Splinter Cell Deathwatch. This, I think it will be Splinter Cell Deathwatch. I want it to be, and I think it will be Splinter Cell Deathwatch. And so the reason that I think anybody should watch Splinter Cell Deathwatch if they're fans of the Splinter Cell series is because it changed my mind. I was terrified of this show, and I heard that they were making it. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Then the more I heard about it, the more I was like, I don't want to do this. This is not going to be good. It's a Sam Fisher. It's a follow-up to the games. I was like, okay, it's an old Sam Fisher.
Specifically Chaos Theory, the best of the games.
Yeah, so it's an old Sam Fisher. They're introducing somebody that is what seemed to be clearly positioned to be the replacement for Sam Fisher. And it looked like it was going to be one of these things where it was going to be this really tropey and predictable thing of, here's the guy that you like, but look how old and gross. And here's the new cool person. And look how cool and how much better they are than this old slow guy, and try to do the old switcheroo. It was set up perfectly for all that to be a massive disappointment. And then I watched the show and it was phenomenal.
Have you ever been happier to be wrong, dude?
No. It was so good. It was captivating. It kept you going episode to episode. Like I said, my only complaint was that the episode was too short. However, you made the point that not a single episode overstayed its welcome, and it was paced that it kept this brutally quick pace for the story.
Yes.
Like even in moments,
it
and
felt like
scenes,
you were living that moment in time with them.
And even whenever it's just two people sitting across a table from one another, it is so intense and frenetic, and it just moves the story along. So it keeps this incredibly kinetic pace, and I loved it. So Splinter Cell Deathwatch changed my mind.
You know what it reminded me of? And I was a huge fan of this show. I'm guessing you probably might have been as well, but 24. Because on 24, specifically the first season of 24, you felt like you were, because the show was filmed minute for minute. Yep. And you felt like you became part of that minute. And I think that was the draw to that show. And Splinter Cell Deathwatch, while episodes are short and you add them up, and I think 6 episodes and you're looking at barely over 100 minutes. You lived every minute of those episodes.
And as we said, especially the first episode, but even for the first few, it's not a lot. But the first episode, you could probably write the entirety of the dialogue on the back of a cocktail napkin.
Yeah.
Like for the whole episode. There was
maybe on a fortune cookie paper.
Yeah. But it was so good and engrossing.
Yeah.
So that's my vote. The Last of Us Season 2, I hope gets all I hope that it gets all the hate that it deserves. I
Yes,
hated the
man.
game. I hated the show. The first game was great. The first season of the show was incredible.
Yes, it was.
And everything followed suit. So I guess they made a show that was just as good as the game for both seasons. So there you go. And in fact, this is one that makes me even more scared because whenever you first blew my mind, whenever they announced they did the shock announcement of Uncharted 5, and I was so stoked. The more I thought about it, the more I got worried about it because I'm like, wait a minute, it's the same people. So
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I hope The Last of Us Season 2 gets all the hate that it deserves. And Until Dawn, I think they just needed 5 nominees. So great job, Until Dawn. You stepped up when they needed you. Yeah, congrats on number 5. All right, so let's see. Next category, best multiplayer game. We have Arc Raiders, Battlefield 6, Elden Ring Night Rain, Peak, and Split Fiction.
So
This is not
we
Irish.
talked about Arc Raiders last week, and
yes,
I'm very intrigued by it, although there's aspects of it that worry me. Speaking with my son and watching him play some Elden Ring Night Rain, I feel like the learning curve is a little high for people that thought they were walking into this because they commercialized this as, hey, if you just want to play multiplayer Elden Ring, this is the way to do it. But that's not entirely accurate statement. A lot of it's very roguelike. A lot of it is not easy. Haven't played Peak or Split Fiction. I know Split Fiction is lights out good. I've heard that from everybody I've talked to. So just because it's what I've played, I'm going to vote for Battlefield 6 on this because it's a return to form. There's nothing unrealistic about it. There's no bullshit wrapped up in this game whatsoever, which we're going to talk about a game later that's full of it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in this game is grounded in military reality. Even the add-on Red Sec Battle Royale that they did, I think just to appease the Warzone crowd, is very grounded, very real. The combat is visceral. It's brutal. It's unforgiving in so many ways and rewarding in so many ways. So that's my vote. But I think Arc Raiders is going to take it.
Yeah, Split Fiction is a fantastic game. However, the theme that we are working on here is clearly more ongoing varieties of multiplayer games. Split Fiction is a narrative game. You go through a narrative, and you have to do the narrative with another player. You do not have a choice. You must have a second player. And
oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I just assumed on the if it was single player that you played one character and then kind of swapped to the other one like GTA 5. But
nope,
okay.
You must have a second player, and if you have a copy, you can have somebody that does not own the game join your game, and they can play through it with you.
Oh wow, that is cool. That's a cool feature. There's a lot of games that do that, but I like that feature.
Yeah, that is great. Obviously, and produced by the guy that always drops the F-bomb every Game Awards, the French guy that we all like. Can never remember his name, but the same guy that did A Way Out and all that. Did he do Two Brothers? Did they do Two Brothers? I don't know, but he produced this game. But so, anyways, great game. But I don't think it'll get the nod. But we'll see. Peak is interesting, has some good concepts, and it can be fun. I don't think they do a lot of stuff where there's like a lot of proximity things and a lot of like communicate, like where if you're too far away, they can't hear you. You got to find other ways to communicate. It's got some interesting ideas, but it's more of a proof of concept than it is a game to me.
I feel like 3 of these nominees were just thrown in there, and this is going to be a war between Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders.
Elden Ring Night Rain. I mean, it's got its dedicated players, but Elden Ring, the actual Elden Ring, already won all the awards.
Yeah,
Night Rain doesn't really need any more love. So yeah, Arc Raiders or Battlefield 6, I think is where it's going to go. Battlefield 6, as you said, sort of trying to steal it all back, try to get back what, reclaim what it has lost over the years.
Yeah.
And then Arc Raiders coming up and drinking everybody's milkshake when it comes to the extraction shooter landscape. They are sort of taking over where the Hunt Showdown and Escape from Tarkov left off, and they are absolutely just pinning the market down before Marathon even has a chance to limp out of the starting blocks. So it's going to.
This is what I hate about award show, because I feel like Arc Raiders is going to get this because it's the only category they're nominated in. And Battlefield 6 has a lot of categories that it's nominated in. So yeah, I really feel, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean.
No, I was going to say it's going to be one of these two. I do think it will likely go to Arc Raiders. Just because the way that it has caught fire is just so undeniable. Whenever you see, if you're just scrolling around on Instagram, you're going to see clips from Arc Raiders all the time. And that's one thing, is it's so shareable. Like, obviously Battlefield 6 has great moments and things like that, but Arc Raiders is just so shareable, and the clips can go viral easily. So I suspect it will be Arc Raiders, but I think both Arc Raiders and Battlefield 2 have absolutely earned their right to be here.
And this could be a potential other upset category, I think.
Yeah, that's true. And if there is an upset, it's going to be, it would be, if I was to pick a real upset, it would be Split Fiction.
Yeah.
Okay, next category. Now, this one is one that was gonna rely heavily on Jay for, anyway, as we announce every show from F1 podcast fame. We have Jay. So, best sports / racing, which always I've never quite understood why they have to bundle these together whenever they have.
Oh, that's my rant.
Nothing to do with one another. Well, I won't step on your toes. Go, take it away, Jay.
Okay, so first off, this is the only / category. Second, racing adapts itself to games in such a natural way that it deserves its own category. Racing is tailor fitted for video games, because even if you're just on a controller, it is tailor fitted for video games. So the fact that it pisses me off, and I mean to no end, that they lump racing in with sports. And when you're talking about sports in video games, I got news for you. Fortnite is a sport in video games. Apex, Overwatch, Black Ops 7, those are sports in a video game, because by nature, Overwatch is set to where you're in an arena and you're being, you have an audience. So it drives me crazy that they lump sports and racing together. Is racing a sport? Yes, in the real world, it absolutely is. But then you look at this, insert F-bomb, you look at this category, and the fact that we even have Mario Kart and Sonic Racing lumped in with F125. And by the way, not for nothing, but Mario Kart could win this category because of the Nintendo fanboys and their corny ass thinking that Mario Kart is a legitimate racing title. Is Mario Kart fun? Yeah, you got a bunch of 2-year-olds sitting around. Yeah, Mario Kart is great.
To be fair, I don't know how much of an impact the voters have on this. I don't know what the percentages are versus voters to the actual experts, but
lumping this in with a game where you're traveling all over the real world at real world locations on laser scan tracks in real world style F1 cars, going 190 at Monza at the Temple of Speed, or coming through the casino turn at Monte Carlo, and thinking that's even remotely equal to Mario Kart is, I don't even know what to tell you. So I'm pissed off at this category whatsoever. And the worst part is I think Mario Kart World is going to win this thing, which is going to drive me through the roof. This needs to come down to FC26, also a great title, by the way, and not deserving to be lumped in with the bullshit on the end of this line right here. But obviously, my vote's with F125 or FC26, believe it or not. And just that these other three go fly a kite or take a long walk off a short pier. And sorry, I'm done.
No,
But
you're good.
man, come on.
So this is the thing
crap.
that I've also never understood, this whole like sports / racing, because they are so different. Where you've got team sports up against F1 or Need for Speed or kart racers or anything like that. It never quite made sense to me. I don't know why they have to lump them together. I think it should be, team sports in one, and then racing in its own thing. Even if you do want to pit F1 against Sonic Racing or Mario Kart, at least have a single thing. But all that considered, I suspect that the winner of this category will likely be EA Sports FC 26, because it's always FIFA or whatever that always, like, because of its broad appeal, is always a huge thing. That said, Rematch is actually a unique soccer game that has some anime inspirations and some.
It looks like Rocket League with like actual soccer.
I was about to say, it has a few twists. It's based. It is a more soccery Rocket League. They have some Rocket League inspirations.
I would even vote for Rocket League in this category before I vote for Mario Kart.
I would say that and my son's a big fan of soccer and things like that. So for him, I would say that who I want to win this and my upset vote would both go to Rematch. I think that they've created an interesting little game there.
I'll tell you this too. So I still have FC 23 installed on my PlayStation, and I don't know if you ever played any of these, and I don't know if you watched Ted Lasso on Apple TV.
I have not yet.
So Ted Lasso's team, FC Richmond, is in FC 23, complete with Jason Sudeikis and Beard standing on the sideline, with all the actors from the show.
That's awesome.
Playing soccer on it. So I've never needed another FC game. So I'm like, as long as it's, I've got the FC Richmond team on there, I'm good. But yeah. So anyway.
Okay. Best sim.
This is an interesting category.
/ strategy game.
I hate / categories, dude.
So at least this one makes a little bit more sense. So let me go through the list here. Something I've fallen asleep at the wheel on some of these. So they are Final Fantasy Tactics, the Invalid Chronicles. That's one game, by the way. Final Fantasy Tactics, the Invalid Chronicles, for those listening. Jurassic World Evolution 3, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, and Tempest Rising, The Altars, and 2 Point Museum. So those are our options. And I know that some of you might already know my thoughts, but Jay, go ahead.
First off, I'd like you to guess who I think should win this category.
Well, if you respect my opinion, you would think that The Altars should win this category.
I already thought you thought The Altars would win this category, just so you know. So who do you think I think should win this category?
Well, okay, so I guess if you clearly do not respect my opinion, then let me see what else. Who else you can think would win? Is it Civ 7?
Okay, so for anybody that knows me, would obviously Sid Meier's Civilization would be the obvious choice. And normally it would if Civ 7 didn't suck. But Civ 7 had a horrid launch. It's had horrible content delivery. It's not doing as well as Civ 6 did, and Civ 6 is fantastic, especially with Sean Bean as the narrator. This one's got Captain Phasma / Lady Brienne of Tarth as the narrator, and she does an excellent job. But my actual vote for this one is Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, because it is a thinking man's strategy game. You're placed on a board of, normally I'd say hexes, except they're squares. It's turn-based. It's got 19 different job classes for your characters. My favorite of which is the Calculator, because that's a mage class that you have to use when you send a spell out to do damage. It's based on prime numbers. So you have to determine the squares by prime numbers so that you don't hit your own people.
This sounds like a waking nightmare for me.
It is.
I can't. I can't math. It's not my thing. I don't like it. And trying to do it in a form of entertainment sounds wretched. I'm going to be honest with you. Jay. You're not selling it.
Beating the original Final Fantasy Tactics the first time, not to mention the second, third, and fourth time, is one of the greatest achievements of my gaming life. Right up there with another game that's also a tactics game, which is Tactics Ogre by Gameloft. One of the greatest games, and if you try to find a copy of the PS2 version, it's like $15,000 or something. It's ridiculous. But yes, I absolutely believe Final Fantasy Tactics, when you talk about this category and you're talking about simulation and strategy, specifically the strategy side of it, I really believe Final Fantasy Tactics deserves the win here. Who do I think is going to get the win here? I think it's going to be either Sid Meier's Civ 7 because of the draw. And I love Sid Meier's Civilization. It's because of the draw of the name, or it's going to be the Altars. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
So for those of you out there that might value my opinion, as Jay apparently does not, the Altars, I believe,
value your opinion.
They just play with you. The Altars was a phenomenal game. I put out a review. You can watch that on the channel, and they did a phenomenal job with that game. It was not just a captivating narrative, but it could be a very challenging resource managing game, as well as like path building and stuff like that. So the way that they tied so many different elements together was phenomenal. And like I said, the narrative was what kept me going. The pace that they had managed to put together in your moment to moment gameplay and the way that it tied together, it made the thing where the gameplay progresses by the day. You have to go to sleep at night, and then the game saves only when you sleep. So you sleep, you wake up, then it's another day. And because of that, you're like, okay, well, if I want to quit, like if it's 3 a.m. and you got to go to sleep, you're like, okay, well, I have to finish the day. Otherwise, what I've done is lost. I've got to go to sleep. I've got to go to sleep in the game to save the game. So then you go to sleep, you get the little notification in the corner that the game saved, and then your guy wakes up, and then you get notifications, and then you're like, well, maybe I should go talk to this guy, or maybe I should. And then it starts the whole thing again. If you take the bait, then you've got to be like, well, now I've got to go through the whole day so I can go to sleep so that it can save. And then the whole cycle repeats, and then you have to be at work at 9.
So I'm so glad you said all that, because I wanted to tell you right now I'm about 6 to 7 hours in, and we've talked about this before, but we're both very completionist when it comes to games. Although I don't know what might be the difference is, like, if I don't do something, I won't go back and reload. I doubt you would either. You just be like, well, shit, I screwed up and I missed it. And I'm very much that way, because I feel like that's more of a testament to real life, because sometimes in real life we forget to do something and it costs us, and we should have to pay for that. But one of the things that drives me crazy with the Altars is I don't want to go to bed because I'm scared to death there's something I missed, and if I wake up the next day, then that thing will be gone and I won't be able to do it. And that game is driving me. It's what stopped me from going any further than I have already. Is I'm like, shit. Like right before I lay down, I'm like, did I forget to do something? Did I visit this person? Did I talk to that guy?
It usually lets
by the way, is all me talking.
Talking, the only advice I'll give, and this is the same advice that I gave on the video. If you look at the video that's on our channel, our review of it, the only advice I'll give is don't leave any area, because that's the way that the game progresses as well, as far as sort of like chapters, is you leave from one section and you go on to the other. You have a mobile command center. Don't leave, except for the first area. You have a tutorial area. As soon as you're done with that tutorial area, you can leave. But after that, don't leave any area until you have to. Otherwise, there will be things. There will be things that you will miss. So don't leave any area after that tutorial area. Don't leave any area until you have to. That is it. So, anyways, I want the Altars to win. I think it should win. I think it has earned its spot. If it is not the Altars, while Final Fantasy Tactics has a long and storied history, I would actually say that if the Altars doesn't win it, I think it'll be 2 Point Museum, because
Okay.
that is part of a sim. They have the 2 Point Hospital and all this other stuff. I think it's been one of those two, but I've got to pull for the Altars on this one. That's who I want it to be. That's who I think it should be. I want it to go to the Altars. All right. Best family game. We have Donkey Kong Bonanza, Lego Party, Lego Voyagers, Mario Kart World, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and Split Fiction. Obviously, under the best family game, Nintendo is overrepresenting, but here we are. So, Jay, what
Okay,
are you thinking?
I didn't even put down notes for this category because I honestly could give a shit. But this is the only category that Nintendo belongs in. There's my hot take. There it is right there. I don't care who watches this later and you want to come at me, bro, because I'm going to tell you this is the only category that Nintendo as a company belongs in. Other than Zelda, I feel like belongs in the RPG category. But if we're talking the OG Nintendo characters, Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, I don't even know if I can name them all. This is the only category they belong in the first place. So I'm going to go with Lego Party just to not give it to Nintendo.
So I am going to say this.
Oh, shit. Didn't see that one. Split Fiction.
That I think it will be likely Split Fiction.
Okay.
If it's not Split Fiction, I think there are certainly cases for Mario Kart World just because of the party aspect of it and the legacy. Yeah. And
even I agree with that. Yes.
And Donkey Kong Bonanza is good fun, and it's fun that you can. It is like a good sort of puzzler platformer for experienced players, or kids can have a great time with it as well because you can break stuff. So it is a great game, but I really think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Split Fiction. I think some of the other categories that it's in, it's kind of. It does, it kind of like, yeah, it can be this, but like the multiplayer, where it's obviously like the category is currently everything else are these ongoing multiplayer games, and then there's this narrative focused 2-player game, and it doesn't really quite fit, and maybe it's kind of punching above its weight class. This is a perfect spot for it. I think it should get it. I think it's going to be Split Fiction on this one. That's who I want to take it, and that's who I think will take it.
I got to tell you, as the father of 2 sons, and you're the father of 1. If you're trying to teach especially when you're talking about fathers and sons, and you're talking about teaching problem solving or being decisive, I can see where Split Fiction would be something that would be excellent for an older kid. But if you're sitting down, you're trying to teach a kid how to use a controller that's younger, then any of these other 4 titles would be great. And you're right about. And I don't want people to think that like I'm just hating on Nintendo to hate on Nintendo. They're great for this category. They can teach a kid how to game so that later he can play real games. And I know it's gonna suck for people, but if you dig down deep, you're gonna see the meaning in what I'm saying. But and we'll get to it when we talk about Game of the Year nominees. But these games are great for that, and they shouldn't be undersold in that regard. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, and now we are going to be getting it. Now we're getting into the territory. We're getting the deep waters. Now we're getting into the big awards. So next category, we have Best Fighting Game. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys here. This is one where, growing up, I loved fighting games. I loved Tekken, all that stuff. But again, I enjoyed fighting games because it was fun to play couch, across the couch with somebody else. And back in the day, they actually had narratives, and you would go through the entire gauntlet with one person. You could get a little bit of a story to go along with it. It's not that way anymore. Like I said, I don't have the fast switch muscles to compete with these people, so I'm not a fighting game guy these days. So I don't really have a dog in this fight. If you guys do, let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think, who you think should win, why you think they should win, and if you think they will win, or if you don't think they'll win, who do you think will get it? But this is one where, even though it's one of the big categories, I honestly don't have a hat to throw in the ring on this.
Yeah, I don't have a dog in the fight on this one, man. I always loved Virtua Fighter because it felt like a realistic fighting game. The way the controls were set up. I'm a huge fan of the Soul Calibur series, but just because I love the characters in it, and I love the Injustice series not because it's a fighter, but because I get to use DC heroes and see them do crazy shit you would never see them do anywhere else.
Hyperviolence.
Yeah, I choose violence.
All right, best RPG.
Okay,
we have Avowed, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, and The Outer Worlds 2.
Bro, I am super torn on who I know it shouldn't be Avowed. I know that, but especially as they're basically canceling all support for the game. I mean, that ought to be a thing right there. But so I did play Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, and I like it. I talked about it on the show before, and I felt like it would have been better served as a third person, and I feel that's still the same. Because we talked about our characters and putting armor on, and you want to see that stuff. So for me, really, the vote comes down to Clair Obscur, Monster Hunter Wilds, and The Outer Worlds 2. Of all three of these, I've played the most of Monster Hunter Wilds. I don't feel like it's an RPG, though.
That's exactly the same thing I was going to say. This comes down to two because
the story has always sucked on I love Monster Hunter, but we talked about this before. Yes. I'm like, tell me who I'm hunting. Let me find out what I need to take this guy down. I'll put it together. Let's go out and hunt the guy.
We talked about it where we were so excited that they're like, we're focusing on the story this time around. And I was stoked. Like, let's see what they do. We had barely gotten anywhere in the world. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm like skipping everything. Like, I don't care. Just let me go. I don't care anymore. Like the story was so lackluster, and any choices that you did get to make, which were few and far between, meant nothing. Like, maybe on a technicality, you could call this a role-playing game just because you're enhancing some of your stats or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's it. If this is an RPG, it is on some wild technicality. In my opinion, this is going to come down to two games. So Avowed, it was a swing and a miss. It was not anything special. The Outer Worlds 2, it wasn't a miss. It wasn't a swing and a miss, but it still is not anything special. Is it fun? Am I interested in it? Yes. I just don't think it's anything special. I don't think Monster Hunter Wilds is an RPG. It's going to come down. I know I haven't played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, but I know a ton of people have. A ton of people love it. And then there's Clair Obscur Expedition 33, something that we also did an early impressions video of, also on the channel. And I think it will and should be Expedition 33 that gets the nod here. I am so impressed with what Sandfall was able to do with Expedition 33 with such a small team. It was unreal, and it was a phenomenal game. It should be, it will be, it must be Expedition 33.
Okay, I agree with you, but I don't think it's going to win, and I'm going to tell you why. If you look at the history of the Game Awards, I feel like Kingdom Come Deliverance is going to get this nod because Clair Obscur is nominated in so many categories that they're definitely going to win. And it's the most nominated game for Game of the Year of all time. That I feel like Kingdom Come Deliverance is going to get this thing, with the upset being Outer Worlds 2, although I don't think it has a chance against Kingdom Come Deliverance. But I feel like Kingdom Come Deliverance is getting this one.
Yeah, I think Outer Worlds 2 belongs in this category, but it is solidly in third place. All right, next category, Best Action / Adventure. Love Jason or Jay and his slash games here, slash categories. So we have Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Hollow Knight, Silksong, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and Split Fiction one more time. So Jay, what are your thoughts on Best Action Adventure Game?
Well, and I'm looking at this as a pure category of action and adventure. I have not got to play Death Stranding 2 on the beach yet. However, and I haven't played Yotei, but I have played Death Stranding 1, and I have played Ghost of Tsushima. which I'm assuming is not crazy different, neither one of them from the other ones. But my vote is still going to Indiana Jones and the Great Circle because of what it captures. It captures the essence of the best Indiana Jones movies, gives you a passable person doing the voice of Indiana Jones, who you will forget is not Harrison Ford.
To call him passable sounds like a bit of shade. Sounds like an insult.
It does, but I'm
job.
absolutely not throwing shade. He does a phenomenal job. And when we get to another category in here, you're going to see how much I think that he does a phenomenal job. But it captures the essence of the movies like nothing else ever has. And I feel like it deserves. I really feel like it deserves this win, but I don't think it's going to get it.
So
I think Hollow Knight Silk Song will get this, unfortunately. And I hate indie games winning big categories.
Well, I don't mind indie games winning big categories. Technically, Expedition 33 is an indie game. I don't have a problem at all with indie games winning big categories if they earn them. But
I just mean low budget, low graphic, 2D bullshit. That's all. Yeah, because Claire Obscure that's a totally different cat. I mean, that game.
Hollow Knight Silk Song, I know, is expertly crafted, and it's an art style that they want it to look that way. It's just I've never played the Hollow Knight games. I know they have a very dedicated fan base, and I know that they are, like I said, expertly crafted. They're just not my thing. So it would not surprise me if it won, because I know that it was a incredibly anticipated title. And then whenever it was sort of like finally dropped, it was a big deal. So it would not surprise me if that gets it. Ghost of Yote, I haven't finished it yet. We all know my thoughts on Ghost of Yote. It's yeah, it's fine. So Ghost of Yote is there. Split Fiction, again, great game. I feel like it's kind of punching above its weight class on this one because for what it is. It's meant to be done in one sitting. And
I think somebody wants Split Fiction to win an award at this show.
Well,
That's what I'm starting to think.
I will say it does deserve a lot of recognition. It's one of those games where it's just hard to pin it. Like the places where it would excel, there's just not a lot of categories for that kind of thing.
And there's a lot of some of the ones it's in, there's just a lot of better games in it.
Yeah. And like I said, this one, like it's an incredible game, but it's meant to be done in like one sitting, one and done, boom, move on. And so is it great? Yes, but it's short. And so there's only so much you can do. So basically, for those, doing a little tic-tac-toe at home, you can tell where I'm narrowing in on, and that is Death Stranding 2 and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Death Stranding 2 is, of course, the next evolution of Death Stranding, and they do make some substantial leaps in the things that you can do and your abilities. I know that Death Stranding was not for a lot of people, but I think I myself and Jay are both evangelists when it comes to Death Stranding, and whatever you've heard, walking simulator, mail delivery simulator, all these things.
I get tired of hearing that.
If you actually play it, it will make sense. It is, the walking simulator stuff is kind of overplayed, but it's a phenomenal game. I think it's a phenomenal story. So it's between that, and then there's Indiana Jones. And like Jay said, it was one of these things where they announced it, Machine Games was going to be doing it. And I was kind of like, okay, we'll see. I don't know. I didn't really think the first person was going to be what we wanted. It's like, okay, we've got Indiana Jones, but we don't get to see Indiana doing stuff. It just didn't feel like that. But then I played it. And just like Splinter Cell Death Watch did as a show, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle did as a game, and it changed my mind. And upon playing it, I realized the benefit that you get from that first person perspective. And it really is sort of a way to sort of draw you into it. It's very engrossing. The storytelling is phenomenal. This is a better story. Like, this game is a better Indiana Jones movie than the previous two Indiana Jones movies that I try to convince myself didn't happen. And this, obviously, Harrison Ford is aged out. If you want Indiana Jones to continue, if you want to keep getting these high quality, based in reality, like based on a real thing, like a grain of truth stories that they then build out from and build these sort of these great fantasy adventure romps around, Machine Games and the Indiana Jones license with these games, this is how you're going to get more of those stories. This is how you're going to get the Indiana Jones that you love from the trilogy. And so it's really tough for me. I am very split between these two games. If I was going to give the edge to one, I would say it's Death Stranding 2. And I think given Keeley's affection for Hideo Kojima, it will likely be Death Stranding 2. But Indiana Jones and the Great Circle absolutely has a right to be here. And I love it. If there was going to be an upset, it would be Hollow Knight Silksong, even though most people would probably not consider that an upset.
I hope so. Yeah. Which drives me crazy. That's a whole separate conversation.
Best action game. So we have here Battlefield 6, Doom the Dark Ages, Hades 2, Ninja Gaiden 4, and Shinobi Art of Vengeance.
Well, I guess you already know where my vote is on this one.
Yes, given context clues of the last hour and 7 minutes, I'm going to assume your vote is going in the direction of Battlefield 6.
It absolutely is. That single player campaign is phenomenal, dude. It's a heart-pounding journey through a combat zone.
So I know that Doom the Dark
sound
Ages...
direction on it is ridiculous. So, some of the most realistic sounds I've heard since I wore camouflage. So, yeah. So just that alone is enough to like draw you right into it. But anyway, go ahead.
So I know Doom the Dark Ages has gotten sort of mixed feedback. Some people really liked it. Some people didn't. Like, it was a definite change to the sort of Doom formula. It does, in fact, play different. It's not just Doom with a different skin over the top of it. They actually did make some changes, and a lot of people weren't super thrilled with it. Ninja Gaiden 4, I mean, it came out, but I have, you told me a little bit about it. I haven't heard a whole lot going into it. Shinobi Art of Vengeance, kind of the same thing. Haven't heard a lot about it. I think it's going to come down to Battlefield 6 or Hades 2, and I suspect that it will actually be Hades 2 that walks away with this one. Now, I have not played Hades 2. I have played Hades, and it was great. The only issue is that it is this sort of, this Metroidvania roguelike thing, and you do these runs, you go through it, and once you die, you get shot back to the start, and you go through it again. And they do have a way that this process does drive the story forward. Every time you get sent back to your home base, you do have the opportunity to talk to new people. You get to uncover more layers of the story. And so they make it the best I've ever seen it done from anything that I've played. That's that thing, like, what's the Dead Cells and those kind of, it does the best job of making that moment of death at the end where you go back to the start less frustrating, because you're like, well, at least I get to uncover some more of the narrative. I get to talk to some more people. I get to do this. And so Hades kept me longer than most of those, but at some point it just starts to weigh on me, where I'm just doing the same thing over and over with different weapons, even though, it's procedurally generated and it does change. It just grinds on me at some point. So it's not, while it's the best one I've played, it's still not my thing, but I do know that, it's expertly crafted, and a lot of time and care was put into it. So I actually suspect that Hades 2 is what's going to walk away with it. Next one we have, this is one where I can give you nothing.
Care.
Best VR AR, I'll just say this is Alien Rogue Incursion, Arkham Age, Ghost Town, Marvel's Deadpool VR, and The Midnight Walk. I have no idea on any of these.
Yeah.
So again, this is one of those, if you guys have something, let us know who, what, why, and who you think it will actually be. But moving on. Best mobile game. This is one that I really don't care. Mobile games have their place. While I'm waiting somewhere, I'll play some mobile games, but I don't really think that it's that great. But anyway, so we have Destiny Rising, Persona 5, The Phantom X, Sonic Rumble, Uma Musume Pretty Derby, and Wuthering Waves. I don't know. Wuthering? Anyway.
Yeah, I've heard that title a lot lately, so apparently it's pretty good. But again, I'm not a mobile game guy.
I'm not either. I'm just going to throw this out there. I think if this is going to be a surprise, I think it's going to be Uma Musume Pretty Derby, because I keep hearing people talk about the Horse Girl game. That's the Horse Girl game, and it's been played to the point that it's gotten a position on this. I bet it's going to be Uma Musume Pretty Derby.
I think we need to revisit where your algorithm has you talking about the Horse Girl game.
I'm not hearing it from the internet.
I'm never heard
people
that.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? So I can't tell you more about other than I think it's going to be that game, just because why in the world is this entering into my ear space without my consent, other than it's got some sort of weird upsurge. Okay. Best debut indie game. We have
This is going to be Blueprints or Dispatch, dude.
Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, Despelote, and Dispatch. So Blueprints is one that I have heard a lot, but I know nothing about. What is Blueprints?
So it is a puzzler, and that's about all I know about it, that it is a crazy puzzler. After hearing your Dispatch rant last week, I'm inclined to want to vote for that, because again, I think Clair Obscur is going to clean the house on the big categories. However, I think they would be doing Clair Obscur a disservice by not giving them this award, because it is their debut title and they're probably going to win Game of the Year. So I really feel like Clair Obscur is going to win this, although it could possibly be because of what I was just talking about, Blueprints or Dispatch.
Yeah, so you'll eagle-eyed viewers may notice that there are only 4 nominees here. There were 5, but one of the nominees actually removed themselves from contention, and that was a game called Megabonk. And they said that they are neither independent nor is this their debut game, so they took themselves out of contention, which I was like, okay. Now, I don't know anything about Megabonk. I'm not familiar with that game, but the makers that they are like, hey, we're not indie and this ain't our first rodeo. And I was like, okay, well, that's commendable. Good job for you guys.
I'm sure the VGAs were like, well, go F yourself then.
Yeah. So here we have,
you guys.
To narrow it down to 2, I would say, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, or Dispatch. And between those 2, I adore Dispatch. I thought it was phenomenal. I love that game.
We know.
Anybody that listened, I love that game. However, when it comes down to the gameplay, there are 2 things. One is the choose your own adventure story aspect, which is phenomenal, where this really shines. And the other thing is essentially resource management for these shifts, where you're getting these calls for issues that need to be resolved, supervillain stuff going on, and then you send out heroes to deal with whatever is happening. It becomes a resource management thing. So whenever it comes to gameplay itself, the gameplay is rather simple in what it's doing. So I love it. I adore it. I think it's a phenomenal game. If you haven't played it, I think you should. But when it comes to the total package, I just think there is no touching Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, in what they were able to accomplish. And I think it should be Expedition 33, and I think it will be Expedition 33.
Yeah, I actually hope they win this category too, because I think that's just further testament, and it further strengthens their Game of the Year vote.
Yeah.
Their nomination. So anyway, go ahead.
All right. Best independent game. So this is no longer debut. This is just best independent game. And I know you had your issues with this at the beginning of the show, but now our list, which also, well, never mind. I was going to say Megabonk was just not nominated. But so we have Absalom, Ball X Pit or Ball Cross Pit, Blueprints.
They actually just call it Ball Pit for some reason, but yeah.
Oh, gosh. Blueprints, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, and Hades 2.
So I've seen some videos on some of these other than Blueprints. Obviously, I've played some Clear Obscure Expedition 33. I don't think they'll win this category. I think this is going to come down to Absalom or Hades 2. Ball Pit kind of has that gamer draw that what was that poker one, that Balastro or
Balatro.
Balatro?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of has that, at least from what I can tell on Steam, it kind of has that same draw. But this Absalom game, and I've seen some crazy footage on it, looks pretty good. But I think Hades 2 will take, either Hades 2 or Blueprints will take this one.
I agree. Again, I don't know much about Blueprints. If anybody else does, educate me. Let me know what it's all
People
about,
love
what you
it,
think
dude.
of it. But Hades, it's going to be that or Hades 2, and I think it's just because of how well Hades, the first one, did.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Hades 2. All right, best community support. We have Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, No Man's Sky, still in contention here. I think this is gonna. I think there are, of these 5, I think there are really 3.
I also think there are 3. I think Final Fantasy 14 and Fortnite should be canceled because A, they've both won the award before, and B, they when we talk about long in the tooth, these guys are in the nursing home as far as that goes. No Man's Sky, it almost needs to be an honorary award at this point for them because they have worked their butt off. They have done a miraculous job. Do they deserve a win here? Yeah. But Helldivers 2, with the constant upgrades that it gets and the constant, what are those things called? They're not battle passes.
Oh
shit, what do they call it? Just too quick. And
I don't remember, but yeah, they're essentially battle passes.
The little packs that
yeah.
gives people so many options to customize their character to the point where no 2 Helldivers are the same, which is weird since no 2 Helldivers are the same because every time you die, you're technically a new Helldiver. But also for Baldur's Gate 3, for going full ballsy and giving mods to the console people this year, to me, that takes them over the edge because one of the things that differentiates the PC and what drives console gamers crazy is they're like, man, I wish I could build a PC so I could have mods. We've got games like Baldur's Gate 3 that are giving you mods, and good ones, not just bullshit throwaway mods, but good mods. And, you know, I'm going to bring it up. I know you'll probably laugh, but Farming Simulator does phenomenal crossovers from the PC mod to the console mod people. A lot of racing games will do mods for consoles. So, yeah, I really think simply for that, I think Baldur's Gate 3 should win this category because it's very seldom that we get mods on console.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 14 and Fortnite, I agree. Are they a thing? Yeah, but it is what it is at this point. I don't think that there's anything particularly special about them.
How old
or at least
is
what they're
Fortnite
doing
at
currently.
this point?
Yeah, right. And so, but then we have Helldivers 2, and I know that there are some issues here. So they do have a brutal release pace that they've been keeping up. Now, unfortunately, that has resulted in some bugs coming through in their game where they put more, and they've announced this, where they said like they put priority on giving people content, and that just because of their own limitations meant that they couldn't address issues and glitches and things like that. And so there have been more recently more issues that have come up around just bugs and things like that. So they have had issues there. No Man's Sky is one of the legendary come from behind stories.
Yeah.
So I think Helldivers 2, I think like I said, they've done amazing support, although some of that support has unfortunately been at the cost of bug fixes. No Man's Sky, legendary. Unfortunately, however, it's like they should have gotten that award years ago at this point. And Baldur's Gate 3, it's an incredible game. And even whenever there are mods that are allowed for games, such as when they allow mods in like Fallout or something like that, the mods are still limited whenever it comes to the console by what they will allow you to put on there and things like that. And so Baldur's Gate 3,
especially on PlayStation,
yeah,
because PlayStation won't allow, Xbox will allow external asset. Sony will not allow external asset.
yeah. So Baldur's Gate 3 has allowed far more into their console ports when it comes to the mods, and of course the game is amazing and giving you access and bug fixes, and then the ability to do these things. I've got to say it's Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, one of the best RPGs, if not the best RPG of all time, and until their next one. And yeah, so my vote is Baldur's Gate 3.
Even for the D&D crowd, the legit dyed-in-the-wool Dungeons and Dragons crowd, which you can call yourself now because you've officially completed a campaign, giving us all the subclasses that you would normally not have access to in Baldur's Gate 3, the Gloomstalker and the Circle of the Moon Druid, stuff like that, the Artificer, which was new to the second version of 5e. That is an incredible step forward. And I feel like it's also a call out to other games that, hey, we did mods. You can do mods. Make it happen. So hopefully we see that.
Next one is best ongoing game. We have Final Fantasy 14.
God.
Man, desperately trying to get one in there for him. Fortnite, Helldivers 2, Marvel Rivals, and No Man's Sky.
So the first two games, same as last category. They've both won it more than once. It's time to make room. Just dump these two. So my vote is actually Marvel Rivals because I've watched my son plays Marvel Rivals, and my son he's the market now, man. He's the market crowd, and him and his friends play Marvel Rivals religiously. They just released Gambit this past weekend. All that content is free. I mean, now you have to buy the additional costumes. If you want the cosmetics, you have to do that. But all the characters are free. Personally, I would love it if Helldivers won this because it's such a good game. But Marvel Rivals is also a good game. And I really feel like because it has the pulse of the young generation right now that this is going to run away with it.
Yeah, Final Fantasy, Fortnite, I don't care. It's old hat at this point. No Man's Sky, love the game. However, I don't consider it an ongoing game. It has ongoing support, but that is different from an ongoing game. So
you also cannot start it right now.
Yeah, so
you'll be so far behind.
So Helldivers 2, I would love to see get it for democracy. But I think it's going to be Marvel Rivals, and I think it should be Marvel Rivals.
Agreed.
All right, now we're getting into it. Well, as I say that, this is one of my least cared about categories, and I'll tell you why. Yeah. So games for impact, I don't care. So many of the now, every once in a while, there can be some that are innovative for one reason or another, but in large part, these are below indie games. I mean, these are things that are made for no money, and it's because no one cares. I understand.
South of Midnight got so much hype, and then it was like literally crickets right after it launched.
Yeah. Now I will say, in situations where you don't have any money, you can get pretty creative. And I've seen Despelote has some interesting art direction, but I'm like, I don't think that one trick is a game. I think it's I don't know. So yeah, I'm the bad guy. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, man, buddy, listen, we're friends together on that one. So
yeah.
Here's another category where I'm like, yeah, okay.
I understand the importance of this category. Innovation.
I'm a left-handed person, so I absolutely understand the importance of this.
Innovation and accessibility. However, here's the thing. Thankfully, since I don't need any of these, I don't go into the menus to see what innovative things are out there. I know that I've heard so many people that have color blindness talk about various games that have all these things. It doesn't apply to me. So I honestly don't know. So
we're not slamming on accessibility. I think it's phenomenal when it's something you need to use. But, I love these games that cater to these weird ass controllers that people are using so that they can play. And I think that is absolutely wonderful and should be researched to the nth degree to open that world up to people. But again, this is a category that, other than inverting my mouse vertical, because that makes more sense than the other way around, I'll die on that hill. And being left-handed, I don't really need a lot of accessibility options.
Yeah, I don't. I say, like, it's important, but since this is not a menu I ever delve into, I literally have no idea what
I find it
innovations they
weird
have
that
created.
Assassin's Creed Shadows in this category. Is the accessibility option the fact that you don't actually get to play as a Japanese samurai?
No, I think it has something to do with like some of the things like the color blindness and things like that. But
Oh, here we
moving
go.
on. So now here we are. Now we're in the thick of it.
Torn
So
like an MFer on this category, dude.
best
Scroll
performance.
down.
So
Scroll down. There we go.
We have Ben Starr from Expedition 33, Charlie Cox from Expedition 33, Erika Ishii from Ghost of Yote, Jennifer English, Expedition 33. You'll notice the theme. Kanatsu Koto of Silent Hill F, and Troy Baker, Texas's own Troy Baker, for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Even though I'm not from Texas. Okay, buddy, I don't know where you're coming down on this, but I'm just going to lay this out. I love Charlie Cox. He's the best on-screen Daredevil we've ever had. He is he's immediately noticeable in this game. Claire Obscure Expedition 33, especially if you've seen the show Treason on Netflix, because it's the same accent that he uses. I love Jennifer English, who also voices Shadowheart in Baldur's Gate. I love her voice. It's a phenomenal little lilt she has that I think is able to capture whatever character she plays. My vote for this, though, and not because he's from Texas, is Troy Baker, because I don't think he's ever won it. And to play the voice of one of the most iconic actors in Hollywood history and nail it to the point that you forget Harrison Ford is not in this game is worth it alone. That alone they should just hand him the trophy.
So
I don't know how you might go Claire Expedition 30. I get it, but I'm just telling you.
So Claire Obscure Expedition 33 is much like Baldur's Gate 3 in that every person in that game knocked it out of the park. Everybody that has, like, Baldur's Gate 3, everybody they gave a role killed it. And Expedition 33, everybody that got a role killed it. And it's phenomenal. However, this is it.
Are you going to agree with me right now?
I have to go with Troy Baker. And one thing that makes me a little sad about it is that if he gets it, it will be a character that, because of what he had to do, he didn't get a chance to make his own. He didn't get a chance.
Wow. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
To do his own thing to bring that character alive.
That actually might cost him the award. Now that you said it that way,
it might almost feel a little insulting to him that he would win it because he did the best imitation instead of creating a character.
Oh, dude,
however, he did such
brutal.
He did. I'm just saying it's sad because, like, as an actor, I know that that's what you want to do. You want to create this character, you know, and he is playing somebody. And
I'm just a dude who's playing a dude who's playing another dude.
But I will say, he did such a phenomenal job as of being Harrison Ford, because one of the things whenever you take on something as iconic as Indiana Jones, that was the thing, is like, if it's not Harrison Ford, why are you making this? Because Harrison Ford is so integral to the character that it can't be done if it's not him. And then you hear it and you're wait, what? Like, that's it. And he does such a good job. You buy it and then you never question it again. Never. You
folks,
go
if
through
you
the
have
entirety
not-
of the game, and you never once think that's not indie.
Folks, if you have not played this game yet, it's worth it to play it just to hear Troy Baker do Harrison Ford. And here's my thing too, and we said this about another category. I forgot what we were talking about last week. We were talking about Liam Hemsworth having the balls to take on Geralt of Rivia. Troy Baker and you got to have cool yawns the size of church bells to take on Harrison Ford. It doesn't get much more. In fact, he's probably the last living actor that you've got to have that size of brass balls to take on that role. And the fact that he's like, yeah, I'll do that. Sure. And like you said, dude, he nailed it. I felt like there were times when they dubbed him in or dubbed Harrison in for lines that maybe they took B-roll from all the Indiana Jones movies. It was insane.
Yeah.
But again, now that you said what you said, I'm like, he might lose because he didn't do, technically for him, it was original, but for nobody else was it original because he's doing somebody else.
Yep. And that's the box he's painted in. I'm sure he wants to do his own thing, but if you go ahead and you play a little jazz, people are going to be pissed off because that's not Indiana Jones. But I think he did great. He did phenomenal. You never question it. I think that it absolutely should be him, and I hope that he doesn't feel like there's an asterisk next to his name if he gets it, because he did phenomenal.
Let me ask you this, though. If Troy Baker wasn't nominated, who would you vote for?
Charlie Cox. Just because he's never done voice acting in a game before. I don't even know if he's done any voice acting before. I don't know if he's done any animation or anything like that, but he did an incredible job in Expedition 33, and I would give it to him, especially if it's given that it's his first time. He did a phenomenal job.
And yeah, I would absolutely agree with you, because as much as I love Jennifer English, I'd be voting with my small head there. So I would definitely go with Charlie Cox for sure.
All right. Best audio design. We have Battlefield 6, Clear Obscure Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, and Silent Hill F.
Do you mind if I go real quick? I'm just going to say
yeah, absolutely. That's why the pause. Go for it, Jay. The floor is yours.
So I'm so torn in this. You might not think I'm torn in this category, but I literally put in my notes, this is an important category. And I'm going to tell you why. First off, I'm going to go with, I'm going to talk about Clair Obscure Expedition 33. And as far as sound design goes, the way the music fit every single mood, at least from the parts that I've played so far. And much like the Altars, I'm about 7-8 hours into this one. It was phenomenal how whatever I was feeling matched where the music was. That part of it was great, but that's a music to emotion feeling. And then you talk about Death Stranding 2, where sometimes the lack of sound is what makes that game. But when that music hits by what's his name, Woodkid or whatever, it nails it every single freak. And it did in the first game. But watching people play Death Stranding 2 and seeing that footage where Woodkid cracks in, good stuff. I feel like Ghost of Yotei is a retread on Tsushima. But as a person that served, I got to tell you, Battlefield 6, a lot of people, this is a throwaway game for them, I would think, in this category. They're like, what's the big deal with that? But, cycling a magazine and hearing the reload and the bolt kick back on an M4 and an APFAS-DAST round coming out of a main tank or a mortar, or if that sound is accurate, it puts you in that scene. And I think it's going to get discounted, but I don't think it should. I feel like Clair Obscure is going to win this category as well. And maybe Silent Hill F is an upset because it's a horror game, and horror game sound design is always good. But I feel like Battlefield 6 is just going to get completely discounted on this one. But my vote is going to be Clair Obscure.
To try to So I'm not going to take too long going on all these other games and stuff, but I'll just say that I think it's going to be Death Stranding 2. And it's because we've mentioned numerous times before that the sound design in Death Stranding 2 is another character in the game. It really is impactful and meaningful in a way that you don't get in other games. And so as is the camera, quote unquote, camera work in the game at times. But also in Death Stranding 2, which whenever we did a preview whenever I first started playing it, I mentioned some of the other things about it, and that is that the music, the soundtrack that goes in the background can also, like, it's one thing, like all games have this thing where, okay, if there's nothing going on, the music in the background is one thing. Oh, now we're in a fight. Now the music is more intense.
Death
Stranding 2, though, has a thing where there is a track that is playing, and then if you run, that track changes. If you're running, maybe it gets a bit more intense. And then if you're running off of the beaten path, maybe now the drums start coming in heavier, and those drums are going to the rhythm of your footsteps as you're going off the beaten path. And then if you are in a combat situation now, it's still the same track, just cranked up with more intensity and more speed. And then as you put distance between you and the people that you are going against, it's that same high intensity track, but they've just turned that intensity down just a touch. Still more than when you were walking, but less than whenever you were face to face with this person. And so the way that it alters so fluidly, sometimes, like I said, just to the simpleness of you wandering off the beaten track, and that changes the instrument that it is pushing forward. I think it is something that you don't notice, or you don't realize that you notice it. You feel it, and then you're like, why does this feel different? And then you start to notice that it's because of the audio design. I think it will be Death Stranding 2, and I think I would cast my vote for Death Stranding 2.
Well, I'll tell you, you sold me on that, and especially since I played the first game, and it was very similar. There's very specific moments in the first game I remember where I was like, this sound is what sold that scene for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And to all the vets out there, guys, I get it from a Battlefield 6 standpoint. But I feel like it'll be between Death Stranding 2 and Clair Obscur because of the music.
Speaking of music, best score and music, we have Christopher Larkin of Hollow Knight Silk Song. I can't pronounce all these names. We'll just go do the names. Hollow Knight Silk Song, Hades 2, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Ghost of Yotei, and Death Stranding 2 On the Beach. I mean, just basically for all the reasons I just said, it's going to be Death Stranding 2 Wood Kid.
So, yeah, I'm really partial towards. I love his insight. I love where he goes at the pulse of what he tries to go for. So that'll be my vote as well. Wood Kid and Ludwig, whatever his Forcell or whatever. But I think that's the best one.
Best art direction.
That's a tough category, brother.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 On the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Hades 2, and Hollow Knight Silk Song.
My vote's going to be Ghost of Yotei on this one. I think they're going to throw him a bone on this one because they're not going to win any other category. And I don't think anybody, as a huge Akira Kurosawa fan, I don't think anything captures the Japanese culture the way that the Ghost games do. So my vote is going to be with that. Although I love the art direction in Death Stranding as well.
Yeah, and so this is one where I feel like, okay, so Death Stranding 2, does it have its own look? Of course it does. It has a very Kojima look in the way that the environments interact and how they look and the things but it's very true to life. I mean, they do scans of these people, so even though it's a a place that's bizarre and has ghosts and black tar that comes in waves and whatever, it's still very lifelike. And while it's impressive, that's not necessarily an art choice. I would think there's a look to it, but I don't know. So that one, Ghost of Yotei, Hollow Knight Silksong is its own thing. I think this is probably going to come down to Hades 2 because it has a very signature art style that they have curated and cultivated from the original to Hades 2. And again, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, they were a small team. They can't make something that looks like Death Stranding 2. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the technology. So they leaned on what they had, and they made an art style that complemented that and highlighted its strengths and hid its weaknesses so well. So I know that I am a broken record on this, and I think it's going to be that way at the Game Awards. I would give the nod to Expedition 33 because they expertly crafted an appealing, eye-catching art style that hides the weaknesses to the point that you can't even find them to speak of them.
I got to tell you, man, I feel sorry for the Clair Obscur Expedition 33 dev team that shows up for this award show because they are never going to get to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
They could potentially
they're going to get their steps in.
This could potentially end up being a Return of the King moment for them, where they win 11 freaking awards and they can't leave the arena or the auditorium for anything.
I hope so. Well, they also have those there's going to be a lot of commercials. Keely's going to go off and read some things, interview.
Yeah.
He's gonna have the on stage thing with Hideo Kojima with an interpreter that's gonna take 15 minutes when it was scheduled for 5. So, and what was it last year that they brought in Robert De Niro out of nowhere? So we'll get some insanity. We'll see.
We're not gonna need an interpreter for whatever Jeff Keighley's doing with Hideo Kojima.
Yeah. Best narrative: Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2. On the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Silent Hill F. And again, I apologize in advance to Silent Hill F. I haven't played a Silent Hill game in forever. I have not played Silent Hill F. It keeps showing up, and I know nothing about you. I'm sorry, but you're not getting any of my votes. Apologies for all these categories that I've ignored you in. So anyways, what do you think, Jay?
I think Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 on this one.
For best narrative?
For best narrative, and I'm going to tell you why. It has a cohesive historical narrative that has a point A, a point B, and a point Z, or Z, if you will. I think Yotei's a typical revenge plot that's going to get called out for that and not win. I think Death Stranding 2, for the same reasons we've talked about a million times when it comes to this, if you can wrap your mind around just accepting what Hideo Kojima is delivering to you, then you'll get it. And if you can't, you won't, and you'll start getting on social media and going, it's a walking simulator. Oh, I work for Amazon Prime and I'm delivering packages. So I think they're going to get snubbed for that. And Clair Obscur, again, an indie title that is an RPG that has multiple layers that people have to learn how to do a counter and parry system that is through the roof, by the way, not for nothing. I feel like Kingdom Come Deliverance is the easy vote for narrative.
Ghost of Yotei,
a cohesive narrative.
Ghost of Yotei, I definitely agree, is tropey, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be done very well.
It's not. Still makes a great game.
But I wanted more, and there's really not a lot to it as far as that goes. Silent Hill F, see previous statement. Death Stranding 2, as you said, it's one of those things where you kind of got to let it go, and once you give yourself to it, it doesn't break its own rules, which many games do. It doesn't break the rules of its narrative that it establishes. The rules can be crazy, but it doesn't break them once they're there. But it is nuts, and I know that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 does have a ton of fans, and it does do a thing where it's carrying on from the first game, and it does have a very grounded, gritty, solid narrative. However, I know, broken record, man. Clear Obscure, Expedition 33. The narrative is phenomenal. You will not expect it. And it truly is that good. And it is that emotional and gripping and engrossing. It really is that good. This is Baldur's Gate 3 all over again. Clear Obscure, Expedition 33 really is all the things that you have heard. And I think it will win. I think it deserves to win Best Narrative.
Well, listen, man, I value your opinion more than a lot of people on this planet. So I got to tell you, I hear where you're coming from, but I think, and they probably will get it, but and I think it's important to separate narrative from game. And that's why I went with Kingdom Come Deliverance, because of the cohesion of the narrative. Where Clair Obscure can get a little, at least in the 8 hours I've played, can get a little off the rails. And of course, that's based on your choices. So you can actually cause the lack of cohesion. So yeah, it's possible they win it, but again, my vote is with that.
Next category, best game direction.
Categories, dude.
Award best game direction,
director, best game.
Best game direction awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. We'll go through this one quickly because it's basically a repeat. But Clear Obscure, Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Hades 2, and Split Fiction once again sneaking into one of those categories. It's
This
Clear
is going to be Clear Obscure. Yeah, this is going to be Clear Obscure. There's no. This isn't even really an argument. This is going to be Clear Obscure.
Yep.
They're going to nail these two right here. No big deal.
Here we are. Now the big one, the final one, the grand finale, the game of the year. It is Clear Obscure, Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Donkey Kong Bonanza because there needs to be a Nintendo game, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silk Song, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Obviously, I'm going with Donkey Kong Bonanza.
I thought so.
But, man, I got to tell you, it is an insult to every one of these games that Donkey Kong Bonanza is in there. You're talking about a game. Now, listen, I want you to take this from my standpoint. You're developing Clear Obscure Expedition 33. You're bringing in 5 world-class actors to do your voice acting. There's that money. Then there's the development money about developing your combat engine and what it looks like. Then your story, then your narrative, then your sound, and then your game. And then Death Stranding 2, Kojima building on what he built with the first game. All-star cast again he's got to hire. Crazy development, ridiculous graphics engine. It looks like it's a National Geographic documentary. Then you got Hades 2 building on the roguelike that they had before, and Hollow Knight building on their strengths from the original Hollow Knight, and Kingdom Come Deliverance building a story around Renaissance Europe. And then Donkey Kong effing Bonanza? Seriously?
Well,
seriously?
This is one where it's like, I know that there are, it's like it's different qualities, but yeah, to call it the game of the year would be a stretch, especially given what the Game Awards have kind of come to represent, where it really is on these things. You look at previous winners like Baldur's Gate 3 and that, Elden Ring and that kind of thing. Like Donkey Kong just really, while it is a great game for what it's doing, it's just not the same level as those kinds of things, So
my vote's Clear Obscure, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, it comes down to Death Stranding 2 and Clear Obscure for me. And, I know it's going to break Keely's heart, but it's got to be Clear Obscure Expedition 33. It's just the year it came out in. Like, I absolutely adore Death Stranding 2. I love the series, but Clear Obscure, man, they came out and they did a home run from the fact that this came out from a small team, their first effort, it's still remarkable. It's absolutely unreal. It really is that good, guys. It really is incredible, and I think it deserves the win of game. Also, if Kojima doesn't get Game of the Year, he's still rich. He's still Kojima. He's still got Jeff Keighley following him around like a puppy. It's not going to, if he won or lost this category, it doesn't change his life at all. He's Hideo Kojima. Clair Obscur,
dude, he's got Metal Gear. Who gives a shit?
These guys, they made an incredible game, and to get the recognition that I think they are all but guaranteed to get this year will change their lives and their careers going forward. They deserve it. They earned it. It's Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It's Game of the Year.
And I got news for you. I bet Hideo Kojima's vote is for Clair Obscur.
I would wager that you are correct.
Because I guarantee you, he saw that plot and he was like, dude, I wish I would have come up with this. This is because it's another plot, dude, where you've really got to, you've got to and it's such a crazy sacrificial so that the rest of us can live plot that I think Kojima would respect.
It's one of those,
it's plot.
It's a story that is deeper the more you think about it. All right, so that took way more time than I thought it would, but that is us and our thoughts on the Game Awards. I guess we'll cover some of this just really quickly. Some things I don't want to spend too much time on. I did have some fun where we talked a little bit about before the show, where we had kind of talked about, and we've talked about it on previous shows, where Battlefield 6, there was a time, boys and girls, when Battlefield was the king of the mountain. It was the top dog, that people defaulted to that over Call of Duty, and then Battlefield lost a few steps, and then Call of Duty took over. And we had talked about how Battlefield was really trying to take steps to take that crown back this year. They took all the feedback that had been given, and they implemented it, and they executed, and they were coming for Call of Duty's neck. What I expected to happen was a brawl. What we got was a forfeit. You have likely seen this image.
Not Battlefield, by the way.
No, this is Call of Duty's end boss fight for the campaign. Some nightmare hallucinogen thing going on here where they are fighting some massive illusion of a soldier. I don't know. I don't care. But this is what Call of Duty presented. And the reason that I particularly wanted to bring this up is because their lunch is getting stolen by two people right now. And both are affecting it. One, the obvious, Battlefield 6. And two is Arc Raiders.
Arc Raiders.
Because they had a mode that they did not announce that and so they'd been pushing this narrative, right? That all the things that they had been showing was this narrative, that, the trailers, all that stuff. It was the campaign. Well, the whole thing is at the end of the campaign is a new game type called Endgame, and it's essentially an extraction shooter. And so they were clearly hoping to, by putting this in there and stealth dropping this, that people would beat the campaign. It would create a lot of buzz. Like, hey, there's this extraction shooter hidden in Call of Duty that you have to beat the campaign to get. And nobody cared. Nobody plays for the campaigns anymore anyway when it comes to Call of Duty. That's what I play. Whenever I played Call of Duty, I played for the campaigns. That's not a thing anymore. People don't do that. They only care about the multiplayer. So nobody was going to do it anyway. Then this leaks, or it doesn't leak, but it comes out. People get there. They see this. People are like, screw that. I don't care about that. And then everybody found out about Endgame, but then nobody cared about it because, like, I've got to beat this to get that game mode. Nobody cared, especially when they have Arc Raiders at home, right? So you got Arc Raiders, you had this. Now, to sort of try to find some sort of equilibrium here, they've announced that in the coming week or two that they're going to roll out Endgame to where everybody has access to it, whether they beat the campaign or not, because they know that the vast majority of their players aren't going to beat the campaign. So they have now gotten trampled by Battlefield 6 and their stealth drop mastermind plan that they thought they had of, stealth dropping the extraction shooter. Arc Raiders has now stolen all of that. So big loser this week, Call of Duty, COD Blops 7. Don't care. Don't feel sorry for them. So yeah, that is my thoughts on that. Go for it.
Sorry. I just want to say, I mean, I've always been a Battlefield first, Call of Duty second guy. And folks, if you don't know, I'm old. So I remember when Call of Duty 1 launched, and the campaign started with the Battle of Stalingrad, going across the river to Stalingrad with a guy going, one of you gets the rifle, one of you gets the bullets. When the guy with the rifle dies, you grab his rifle and load the gun, kind of thing. And it was phenomenal. We loved it. It wasn't better than Battlefield. It wasn't worse than Battlefield. But we played it, and here we are, and how far you have fallen to. You've went to these drug-induced boss fights where you've got some gigantic dude on the screen. And, earlier this week, I watched an Asmongold video where he was reacting to it, and somebody called in an airstrike, and instead of an airstrike, it was a giant K-bar knife that came down and stabbed the middle of the battlefield and killed like 10 or 15 people or whatever. And I'm like, this is supposed to be a military tactical shooter. What in the hell are you doing? And they're done. I mean, Arc Raiders, Battlefield, I mean, they basically just handed the award to Battlefield for military shooter, and Arc Raiders is free to go and move about the cabin with whatever they've got planned, and which apparently is a lot because that game is just catching on like wildfire. So Black Ops it's a non-issue. I mean, at this point.
One of the other things that I wanted to talk about was the Subnautica 2 drama. I will get through it quickly so that we have time for some of the other things. But basically, with the whole thing being that there were 3 high-level employees of that studio that were fired, and then the game was delayed. And the whole thing around this quickly became like, well, was the game delayed because it needed more time, or was it delayed specifically so that it would miss this deadline that had been put, where if they were able to get it out before then, which it was scheduled to go out before this thing, they would get a $250 million bonus, which I guess just goes to show the success that the original Subnautica had, for the fact that they could do a bonus. This is obviously getting the game out by this time. So it was for just this game. So they could, a game that you don't think about doing huge money. I mean, it's well known, but you don't think about that, where they could afford to give a $250 million bonus for this one. It's crazy. Anyway, the big thing there is that was the main contention, is that the 3 that were removed and then the game was delayed, those 3 said, hey, we were fired and the game was delayed so that they wouldn't have to pay the $250 million in it, and specifically that they were going to get the bulk of it. And they, so the company that Krafton that had bought, I think it's Lost Worlds is the name of the studio. They were the ones that had put the kibosh on it so that they couldn't pay that out. So they were suing. And most recently in the lawsuit, it was alleged the first story that came out was that it was alleged that the CEO of Krafton had consulted ChatGPT about how to get out of paying the $250 million bonus. And
he consulted AI
that
to figure out how to get.
That was the allegation, and that he then deleted those conversations so that they could not be recovered after having those conversations. And then later, that CEO confirmed that this did happen, and they have emails that prove that it happened. So I guess he, instead of perjuring himself, he did in fact admit that this did happen. He did consult ChatGPT. He said he was looking into how his thing was, well, we found out that these 3 weren't actually directly involved with the production of the game, so I needed to figure out how, like, what our rights were. And that was, he's like, I was using it just like you would use Google. It's like, well, you shouldn't be using Google to determine that either. And then he's like, let me find one of these ridiculous quotes that he has here that's even more terrifying where he basically says something along the lines of, yeah, I just use it the way that I use it to ask questions the same way that I use it dozens of times a day for other things. Like, what are you doing? If you're the CEO and you are consulting ChatGPT dozens of times a day, it sounds like ChatGPT is the CEO of Krafton. This is not giving me confidence in your abilities. So he admitted that he did consult ChatGPT on how to get out of paying this bonus out. Again, his justification for it is, well, because they weren't doing the work. Well, then, so you're also going to steal it from even if that's true, you're going to steal it from the other people, the developers themselves that were, not going to get it. But so not only did he admit that that is a thing that happened, which obviously need to because they had emails confirming it, but he also admitted to deleting those conversations from ChatGPT. And this is bad on two levels. He says that the reason he deleted it was
it's bad on so many levels.
Was because he was like, well, I deleted it because I had concerns. If we're using company data, then I didn't want that to be used to then train the AI. Well, okay, a couple of things. One, just because you delete it there, do I believe that ChatGPT no longer has those logs? No, I do not believe that. If you gave it to it, it's got it. And two, if you're afraid of what AI would do with your information, what are you doing? What are you doing with the dozens of times that you're using it throughout the day? I don't know what in the world he's trying to do here. So yeah, and that is, let's see, the CEO's name is, let me find it here. CEO's name is Kim Chang Han. So yeah, there we go. It was confirmed that he did in fact use ChatGPT. So that was the Subnautica drama that I wanted to provide an update on. It's just insane. There was a little sub story here where I figured we would talk about it because it was such a big thing whenever Marathon and Bungie came out that they had stolen art assets. And, at first it was a thing where it's like this, the artist Anti-Real came out, showed examples, and then it was soon that Bungie had no choice but to admit that they, in fact, had stolen these art assets. They said that the person that did it was no longer employed there. They had to, in fact, the last time that they were supposed to share any game footage, they actually couldn't share any game footage because they hadn't finished thoroughly going through and verifying that everything that they were going to show was original, and they didn't want to run the risk of showing something that had been stolen. So on the heels of that, I just wanted to show this little thing here where Bungie and the sci-fi author settle lawsuit over alleged plagiarism of his old WordPress stories for Destiny 2's launch campaign. So they had said, oh, we didn't steal it, blah, blah, blah. And but they ended up settling out of court. So, and all of the things that we had talked previously about how Destiny 2 had been sort of locking some of their previous story elements behind, like, oh, this planet's destroyed or whatever. Well, all of the stories that he had complained in this thing where he said you plagiarized, as luck would have it, all of those are some of the blockaded material that you cannot access any longer. So just on the back of the art theft of Anti-Real for the Marathon game, just Bungie is looking like, I mean, they can't come up with their own art. They can't come up with their own stories. It's just embarrassing the how far Bungie has fallen from what we knew them to be. It's just,
how about the fact they couldn't even afford Word? They had to use a WordPress.
Yeah, it's awful. So I want to get through that real quick. All right. So Jay, you have a couple of gaming things before we try to hit our entertainment stuff.
Yeah. So the first one is we had a new little addendum to 007 First Light, which if you follow the show, we're super excited about. So
it is
this
our
kind
most
of
anticipated game.
this is a very short watch along video before we get to a little bit of a longer one, but this is the 007 First Light Aston Martin Valhalla reveal. And that was the end of it. That was the end of it. So let's go back to the beginning. There we go.
A 00 agent needs the fastest, most dynamic, and of course most striking car when they're on duty. Hybrid twin-turbo V8.
And you know, if you watch the video that we did before where we did the watch along of the big trailer, he was in like a 75
modifications
Vantage, which they only made like 3,500 of.
Meet the Aston Martin.
This is obviously a newer car.
But this one is only for 00 agents, James. If you want to drive it.
And one that you have to die in battle to drive.
And you have to earn the number, as we know from all of the 007 videos. This is the actual car if you want to see it.
Man.
It'd be cheaper though if you wanted to go buy a bottle of Glenfiddich that you see back there on the thing. But
have they announced the price of this car?
This car has already been driven. There's a couple of F1 drivers for the Aston Martin team that got to drive these around Monte Carlo. I have not seen the full price of this car, but they only made like 350 of them, and 2 of them are for racing. So, I mean, you're probably looking at this point over 1.3 mil if I had to guess based on some of their other prices. But dude, such a cool car. Still maintains a lot of that James Bond DNA with the hood ornament and the grill on the front. So looking forward to getting to drive this in the game, obviously, because it'll be lights out super fast. But I'm just so excited for this game that every little piece of info that trickles down is one of the things I want to share with this show, much like the next game that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah,
whenever
007, we actually has a release date, and we know when we can expect 007. We have no idea when we can expect this one.
So the next one is we finally got an overview of space for the Expanse, and I'm not going to ruin it by talking about it other than saying they hired an actual astronaut who previously commanded the International Space Station to consult on this game as far as space mechanics. So here we go.
Doing extravehicular activity, or EV. One of the biggest fears of an astronaut doing extravehicular activity, or EVA, is somehow becoming detached and floating away.
Yes, definitely a scary experience.
Hi, I'm Leroy Chow. I'm
Neil
a former
deGrasse
NASA
Tyson knows all
astronaut
the
and
physics,
ISS
but
commander.
He has not himself.
Alcat Games asked me to help them to create what it's like to live and work in space.
This game looks.
And then it's really a challenge to take that experience and make it into a realistic game, and that's where their team stepped in.
I wonder how,
We wanted to strike the right balance, realism grounded in science fiction, not simulation.
During real spacewalks, we actually use tethers to keep ourselves.
I don't know where they are either right here.
In a reactive game, that would be too clumsy. And so Mag Boots is a creative way to kind of compromise and keep it realistic, but also be able to be reactive.
No place like home.
The fear is the same, becoming detached somehow and drifting away. And that's just one example. Even firearms would behave differently in space. Recoil and ballistics would also be different. People think about space as silent, but silence can mean danger. For example, inside of the spacesuit, there's a steady hum of the fan that's blowing oxygen over your face. The people at Alcat Games did some research and figured out that vibrations caused by shots inside of a vehicle would translate to the hull and likely be felt through the mag boots.
Wow.
We love the idea, but have to adapt it. Realism would mean almost no sound in combat. No vacuum, you hear more than astronauts do, but far less than in atmosphere.
I'm not going to lie to you, I did
What
not
your character feels.
catch much of that.
Breath, comes, vibrations. The tension
he's talking
stays,
about, I
and
guess,
so
that
does the fear.
like firearms fire, you would feel it in the mag boots, and that would translate to sound.
Well, I caught what the previous guy said. I just didn't catch what this dude said.
Oh yeah, you can't catch much of what this guy says, but
could have used some subtitles on that one.
Even years together, the commander is chosen first and sets the tone. Just like in the game, trust takes time and shared experience.
The ship is cruise home. To craft the right atmosphere, we focus on the smallest of details. Life in space changes days. Astronauts often crave spices just to feel such sensations again. On pink water meals created from what could actually be grown in
Or
orbit.
the level of detail
And in
they're
the
going.
same
I mean,
spirit, you'll
full
even hear
menu
your
boards on
companions
the
discussing
restaurant.
food and ingredients on the ship. We hope that our approach to blending realism with gameplay considerations will make players experience something engaging and truly immersive.
Wow.
It's one of those things where sometimes, like, a development team can get so in the weeds that they lose kind of sight of what they're doing, and they kind of get so focused on these details that they never manage to come together. But so far, everything that I'm seeing from this team seems like it's like they know how to bring them all together. And again, it's still, I am not hanging my sci-fi RPG hopes on Mass Effect 5, even though Mass Effect is my favorite game series of all time, that original trilogy.
Yeah.
My hopes for the continuation, I have more faith in that game carrying the torch than I do in Mass Effect 5. Change my mind, BioWare. I would love to be surprised. It's just after 3 straight swings and misses, my faith is in The Expanse.
Absolutely, man. And such a rich storyline to develop content off of with The Expanse. Man, and the fact that they're reaching out to people that by and large have done this stuff in real life, minus the combat portion. So really super looking forward to this game, man. Really excited.
Me too. Do you have any other game stuff you want to touch on real quick?
I don't, man. That was it for me.
All right. Well, I am going to throw this to the stage. So this is the Moana, the live action Moana trailer. We're not going to listen to it. We don't need to listen to it because that's not really the point. So this is obviously I'm not the target market, but I did want to watch this and where I saw it was out because I was curious. And so I watched this. And so again, this is the live action remake of Moana. And as I watched this, there was just something about it. You know, I was like watching, okay, we got a little Moana. Oh, there's a seashell in the water. And then we see this wave here. I mean, it looks like it's pretty much a shot for shot remake of the original. I mean, obviously, why wouldn't it be? It's Disney. It's the same company. We're less than 10 years since the original, and only recently did Moana 2 even come out. But we've got this, again, live action remake. And as I was watching this, the thing that jumped out at me is like, this is not live action. This is, okay, this girl is real. That ship is not. Most of this it's not a set. You know, it's not, I mean, that chicken isn't real. This is not, this is not a live action remake. This is almost all CGI. Like 99% of that trailer was fake. And granted, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? So there are movies, but it's more excusable on an original IP, an original product. But this, how does it justify its existence to be the live action remake of Moana if it's almost entirely CGI? So the people will be real, but then all the places they are, all these sea settings, all that's fake, even The Rock, like they've done a lot of CGI just to make his costume look more real, and then he's got the other, because if you saw the making of, like, sort of like the on-set photos of him in his garb, it looked rough. So they're going at it with CGI to smooth everything out. And The Rock is Maui in the cartoon. So that's the thing where I was like, if this is going to be essentially a shot-for-shot remake, and none of this, or almost none of this, is really live action, what's the point? Why not just make Moana 3? Why would we do this? I don't understand, because it's all CGI anyway. It's just like Lion King. They did the live action remake of the Lion King, and none of those animals are real because they need to be able to talk. So they and do so all of that CGI as well. So I started thinking about like, what does it even mean to be a live action remake? And then
Yeah, you blew my mind with it when you texted me the other day because I'd never even actually thought about it from that aspect. And I made the joke about the Star Wars prequels because there was so much CGI in those.
And then, well, so as I texted you about that, and I was thinking about that, and then just this morning, Whitney was talking about how her daughter is on this big Zootopia kick because Zootopia 2 is coming out, so she's watching Zootopia over and over and over again. And that made me think about how whenever I was a kid, I remember that feeling. And I remember whenever Izzy was a kid and he would want to see something over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I remember whenever I was a kid, that feeling of wanting, not just, as adults, whenever we've all had, anybody that's a parent or has a nephew or somebody, what it's like where they want to watch the same thing over and over. And you're just like, oh my God, I cannot take this one more time. But I can actually remember as a kid, a few movies that I loved so much that I literally wanted to watch them over and over again. And I was thinking, man, well, what happened? What happened? What from there to here? What happened that I don't have that anymore? What bridge got crossed where I don't have that same desire to watch something, where I don't love something that much, where even movies that I love, it's like I'll watch it, maybe once a year max,
Yeah.
And then I thought, as we kind of went down that road, it made me think even more about the last time that I felt that as an adult. And it was probably the closest thing to that was, believe it or not, Star Wars Episode 7. And I love it. Now,
Same, by the way.
I think 8 and 9 killed Star Wars. But Episode 7, I loved. And I saw it, I think, 5 times in the theater. And
impressive.
And then recently, and maybe we're planning on talking about that here after this, Predator Badlands. I've only seen it once, but I would love to see it again in theaters and take it in. And one of the things that I thought as I kind of like thought through all these things is, again, I'm not anti CGI. I'm not against. I understand it, but those two movies and most of the movies that I adore and recommend, they don't have a ton of CGI in them. Even Predator Badlands, the Predator was practical effects. They did a whole custom thing where he was in a suit and they just did CGI over his face, all of his movements, all of that stuff. The fact that Elle Fanning was on his back, that was all done with practical effects. Star Wars Episode 7, while it was a Star Wars movie, J.J. Abrams was committed. Whatever we can do practically, we will do practically. They did practical sets. They had practical vehicles. They had practical robots. Anything that they could do practically, they did. And you feel it. You feel it whenever you watch those movies. And I think that's one of the things that whenever we, at one point, were enamored with the concept of the live action remake, was going even further to help us suspend our disbelief and put ourselves in this world. When you watch a cartoon or whatever, we recognize, we accept that it's a cartoon, but we always think, what would that look like if we were to really be there? And a live action remake of something that you love is to, you want to see what would, I think that's one of the things. Does it look like how I think it would look in my head? How would this look if we were to put it in real life? And that only works, really well in movies that use practical effects. Things like The Thing still holds up because it's all practical effects. Whereas things that are just CGI heavy, they don't. So I don't know. That's just a whole sort of path of thought that I went on over the last few days, where what does it mean to be a live action remake? What is the point if it's all CGI? And then the mention of Whitney and her daughter and that childlike enthusiasm that we all had for the things that we loved. And why do we not love them like that anymore? What happened? I don't know. So that's just my aimless rambling about that. But what do you think, Jay? What are your thoughts on any of this?
Well, I mean, first off, it's a good rambling and and a natural one to have. A lot of that has to do with the fact that whether we want to admit it or not, we lose our imagination over time, or at least it's not as sharp as it used to be. And plus, we live in an age where all the kids have touch screens and swiping this and touching that, whereas we both come from an age where we went out in the yard and we made this shit up, dude. And of course, we wanted to watch it over and over again so we could recapture that feeling, so that the next time we did go out and play with our friends, we could, elevate that and extend it beyond what we saw on the screen. But, when you text me that the other day, I was like, oh my God, he's right. Like, if it's CGI, it's like, what's the point? And is it really live action at that point? It's really not. I remember when my brother and me were watching Transformers the movie in 1986, and he was like, man, wonder if they ever made a movie about Transformers. And this was 1986. And I said, dude, I'll bet you $10 they never make a movie. There's no way they could. We're talking about 45 to 60 foot tall robots in live action. They'll never make that movie. And then I went to see Transformers the movie with Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox, and man, she was hot. But immediately after I left that movie, the very next morning, I mailed my brother $10 because, and he's like, "What's this for?" And I'm like, "Remember that time?" And
you win.
Yeah, you nailed it. So it, going forward, it makes you wonder what the value of live action is, because if it's not, especially with Disney, because we all know Disney has that thing called the volume now, where they're inside this domed building they can project whatever images they want on it. And like they did for Mandalorian and Andor and Kenobi, so that the actors can see what would normally just be a green screen. So it makes you wonder how much of Moana, and I never saw the original, just wasn't interested. Makes you wonder how much of the original is just inside the volume with this live action.
Yeah, so that's I don't think they use the volume on this one. I think it is all just green screen,
Just
blue
straight
screen.
CGI.
Yeah, I think it's this chick and The Rock in front of green screens holding green objects. And it's like, that's why I'm saying, if it's an original property, I think you can get away with more as far as that goes, because if that's the only way that you can think of to bring your vision, okay, whatever. But that's at least the first time that we're seeing it, where it just seems so bizarre to me to do a live action remake of Moana that is almost exclusively CGI. So at that point, it's like, what is the value here just to get
right?
One is The Rock, at least, who is Maui in the original, but the girl doesn't even sound remotely like Moana, so it's a different voice, different face. I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, what's the value proposition here? And then, as far as that goes, as I thought more about it, especially Predator Badlands and the practical steps that they took. Now, granted, there's some CGI stuff, like the thing that he's hunting is obviously done with CGI, but you can tell where they took the practical effects. So you can tell what's practical there. And the fact that Deck is the main character is mostly practical, except for just his face. What you get there is this level of believability. And we had talked about last week, whenever I'd mentioned that I had watched The Predator, the only one that I had not watched of the previous movies, because I just didn't have any interest, but I watched it. And this big, like, super predator that they have, and that one is
Right.
CG. It's all CG. It walks around, it's CG, it's all CG, and it feels like CG, and it doesn't have any weight. So whenever you see it on screen, it doesn't feel like it's really there. It feels like CG. Whereas this Predator Badlands, you can feel that he is really there and it's practical. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, again, I don't want to sound like I'm not waving my fist at this guy and saying, get off my lawn. But I really think that there is something to some of this that CGI is robbing, like this over reliance on CGI is really robbing us of some of the visceral feelings that we used to get, and all the things that I realized that have really connected with me. Either it's something where it's not a big production that I need that needs CGI, it's all about emotion or whatever, or it's a thriller like The Beast in Me, which is on Netflix, which I just finished, which is great. But whenever it comes to something big, and they use supplemental CGI, but everything is on set, like Dune Part 1 and Part 2. They went to the desert. They did this stuff. Like there were things there. They would do some CGI to kind of like complete some of their sets and stuff like that. But they were really there. There were really these like, legs or, whatever that are showing up. These things were really there. And you feel that. It matters. For the Fallout show, I mean, that was a massive hit.
It's a great example.
Yeah, they were in Namibia, and they filmed that. Walton Goggins was in full prosthetic makeup. The only thing they had a little blue nose that they CG'd out and just made it nothing. So and you felt that there's some sort of kinetic thing that that I don't know there's something to it. I don't know, but it somewhere along the way there obviously there's got to be something between childhood and adulthood where you just don't have that same connection as much as you do, but it's not lost because, like I said, Star Wars Episode 7 that came out, I saw it 5 times in theaters. It's there's still something there. There's still a thread that can get picked in the right circumstances.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen often. So, and I think something's lost in some of the stuff where there's just an over-reliance on CGI that I think it's the uncanny valley thing where we can tell, we can feel it. I think that the first introduction that we get to something, I think it impacts it, but not as heavily as something like a remake where it's like, what's the point? If it's almost all CGI anyway, why not just make Moana 3 instead?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, we were just talking about The Expanse a few minutes ago, and I had the same experience with Episode 7 that you did. I saw it multiple times. I loved it. But like, I remember when The Expanse launched on TV, and I saw it. I felt like I had that same kid piece that I was missing, or that I had lost, or at least gone out of touch with. And dude, that show took me in hook, line, and sinker. And I was like, this is freaking amazing. Newtonian physics, real space, real travel times, real physics.
And then those real sets help. I mean,
real
you feel
sets.
that. You feel that whenever it's all this stuff where it's all these other things that are taking these realistic approaches to it. I mean, you feel that. You see it on the screen, and it really helps you buy in.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the scene where Miller's they're on those 2 beer cans going towards, I forgot where they were going towards, Phoebe Station or something else, Eros, with what's his name, the Spanish kid, and they eject from that whole sequence through that where he sacrifices himself. It felt real because it was real. There was very limited CGI on that, probably because they didn't have the budget for it. But it was very visceral. The whole show was visceral because it was real humans having real problems and getting through them.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you another director that I absolutely adore, and I'll watch everything that he ever makes, and that's Christopher Nolan. And he's another one that, hey, if we need to use CGI, we will. But if we can't do it practically, we'll do it practically. Tenet, that all the insane things that you saw in Tenet, they did those.
Yeah.
All these people are walking forward, these people are walking backwards. There's there's battles and things, and stuff is healing and stuff is blowing up. All at the same. they did that. That happened. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
so all these things, like you can feel the Mission Impossible. Those things are way over the top.
Yeah.
But they do those stunts. And there is
They have to
something
because Tom Cruise is there.
yeah, but I think he knows though. He's tapped into it. He knows that no matter how outlandish what we're doing is, as long as we are finding a way to do it practically, that bridges some gap in the back of your mind that you can perceive it. You can perceive when it's being faked to that extent with CGI. Obviously, there's strings and ropes and pulleys and wires and all of that.
Right.
We get that. We're not stupid. But they're finding practical ways to do this. Same thing with like Top Gun. They're using actual jets. This isn't CGI stuff that's flying around. They're using actual jets. And that's expensive. And it's dangerous. But you need it to make it work. It doesn't work if it's just CGI. So
and they did
Tom
the
Cruise
same thing with the F1 movie.
Yeah. So
same director even.
Yeah, and Tom Cruise. So Tom Cruise, I think he's tapped into it where he insists on doing these insane things because he knows like, hey, if we have to polish it up and clean some things up with some CGI, add some terrain on there, whatever. But as long as we do the actual thing, we find some way to do it practically. That allows the audience to bridge that gap, and our movie is believable now. We now made a believable movie.
Congratulations to Tom Cruise on finally getting his first Oscar.
Honorary though, right?
Yeah, but it's still an Oscar. He
like
can still announce himself as the Tom
winner.
Cruise, the Academy Award winner. Yeah.
So
yeah,
happy. I don't know, but yeah, the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, yeah, the storytelling and the way that it just connected on screen, it always, or at least almost always, all the ones that popped in my head were movies or shows where either they used practical effects or or they were just all about person to person, and they didn't need special effects like Knives Out or something like that, and it was just an engrossing story. But yeah, there's I don't know, there's something about it. So didn't really have a grand end to that thesis. It was just an interesting thought process that I've been going through over the last few days.
And it's a ponderance that people, even if you watch this show later, that you'll take away and you'll be like, you know what? It's one of those things that might pop up a month later and you go, oh my God, they were right. And it's part of it's aging and part of it is just life in general and the advancement of technology and what that shit does and robs from us. And, you're right, man. I don't know what else to say other than you're absolutely right. Those thoughts are on point and, it's life.
All right. Well, what are your thoughts on that, guys? Let us know. Drop us a comment. Tell us what you think, and we'll see if we can crack this together. But the last thing that I want to close with, and we don't want to take up too much time. We know we're running long today. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
but
we are.
Did want to talk some
long
spoilers
in the tooth tonight.
They want to talk some spoilers around Borderlands, Predator, Badlands. Now that Jay has gotten to see it, he hadn't gotten to see it last week, so now we can talk about it. So if you have seen it, stick around, and we can kind of share a few quick thoughts. If you have not, you can go ahead and sign off here, and you can check back for our spoiler-filled thoughts on a later date, because I don't want to spoil the movie for you, because Jay and I did both absolutely love it. So if you're leaving now, thank you for watching so far, and if you stick around, okay, we appreciate that too. So Jay, Predator, Badlands, you have now seen it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I'll be concise because we are running long. But so first off, I felt like it was a coming of age story for Deck, the main Predator, the protagonist of our story. And here let's start with my negatives. And they're not really negatives, although they can be perceived that way. It is a very predictable story. Is that a problem for me? No, it's not, because it's a story that needed to be told. Like you said, we've both been waiting for a story where the Predator was the central character and he absolutely was in this. We're talking about a culture that is born to hunt. Weakness is driven out and even eradicated amongst the clans. We saw a different clan of the Yautja that we're not used to seeing. It felt like they already had a hard time as a clan establishing themselves, so definitely wanted to get rid of Deck. The brother scene at the beginning I felt was just brutal.
Yeah, that one was gnarly.
But needed to happen so that Deck could start his journey. I don't even think at that moment Deck knew why he needed the journey that he went on. But for us watching it, we're like, yep, he needed that to happen, because that calloused him and it shelled him up for what would happen next. So he flies to this next planet. He gets there. He meets a synth right off in Ellie Fanning's character, Thea. And she knows he's hunting the same thing, the Klisic or whatever it's called, the Klisic or whatever, that has never been killed. In fact, his grandfather had tried to kill it. Yeah, had not killed it. And then, of course, we absolutely find out why he's impossible to kill, because he's crazily regenerative, which brings in the Weyland-Yutani plot of, yeah, this is an absolute trait that we need to capture and figure out how it works, because we want people on Earth to live forever. So, and then we meet Bud, who at first we didn't know, although I figured it out within like a minute and a half, that this was the baby version of the thing that he was hunting. And they develop a bond through spitting, which I thought was cool because it reminded me of Dune a little bit. But thank you for the gift of your water. But then we see the Predator during the course of this movie, do a role reversal that wouldn't be common for his race, where he cared about the people around him and whether they lived or died, and whether he cared enough to rescue them when they were in peril. And I don't want to go for full spoilers, but we get to the final sequence, and it was less about what the Predator can do to make his name and more about how can I rescue what has become my family. So I love the movie. I love when he gets back to the Predator planet at the end. And I mean, although we all saw it coming for anybody that's seen the movie. And then I love the ship coming in at the end, and it's like, who's this? Oh, it's Mom. So I thought that was cool. Kind of opened it up for what could possibly happen next. But anyway, great movie, dude. Loved it through and through.
Yeah, I agree. It was phenomenal. I adored it. It blows my mind that there's so much hate going around this movie, and I saw that it had a pretty significant drop in that second week, and I was bummed to see that it was struggling.
Yeah.
I hope they make another one. I loved the movie. As we've said, there were so many people that were like, I don't want to know more about the Predator. I prefer it to be mysterious. But it's like we said last week, every movie, the Predator, if the Predator is not the focus of the movie, and we don't want to learn, and we're not trying to learn more about the Predator shows up. No matter how cool he is, Predator dies. So it's like he's the coolest character in every movie that he's in, and he dies every time.
And he dies.
So it's like, how often can we do that before we get bored of it? Where it's like, why do you keep killing the coolest dude? Why do you keep killing Darth Maul? And
I literally was just getting ready to say it's the same as if Darth Maul was in every Star Wars movie, and we just keep killing the guy, which we kind of did.
We just keep killing him.
Even though it was animated. Movie. Yeah.
And so, I've read like books and comics, and I love the lore that they go into in those, and I wanted more of that on screen, and we got it. And people were upset about Deck's appearance. Well, that's addressed and again, he has to look significantly different.
Asked and answered.
Yeah. Otherwise, we can't tell him apart whenever he's on screen with other Yautjas. So,
dude, I even liked the game, even though it didn't get anywhere near the traction it should have got.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
game
and-
has a bunch of different predators.
And speaking of games, like to reiterate something that I had mentioned last week is like this movie is a love letter to video games. Dan Trachtenberg is
you
the
nailed
gamer.
that.
Had a podcast that was focused on video games, and there are so many nods to video games in this movie. It is the classic RPG setup. You start the game at the height of your abilities, you see what you are capable of, and then you are quickly and unceremoniously brought down to nothing. And then you have to build back up along the way. You meet your party members. You find, you have to establish relationships with those party members. Some are aligned to you, some are not. And then you have to find a balance between the two. There are
have to decide your dialogue options. That are you picking
Yeah.
the left choice or the right choice? And by the way, you should send him the last 20 minutes of this episode and say, hey, you need to come on the show. I feel like we could get him on here.
Maybe.
But yeah, dude, I love the movie. Absolutely. Thought he did a great job. And I hope we go forward with it, even if
Me
it's
too.
a completely different story, maybe even a different Yautja. I'd be fine with that. But
And
still.
again, for if you're watching this, you probably already know, or you're just curious. But again, if it, we had reservations about the PG-13 rating. Turns out it's just because of the quirk of red blood get you an
Red
R
blood.
rating. There's no red blood here, so dismemberment, maiming, permanent injury, all
Yeah.
good. Death,
Sawing in half,
yeah,
plasma sword through the
all
entire
allowed.
carcass.
all allowed for your preteen boy or girl. So yeah, it is still just as brutal as anything else.
Yeah,
you have
absolutely.
seen. There are decapitations, dismemberments, maiming.
Yeah, some of them synths, dude, went down. I mean, they were horrible deaths. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, there is no shortage of that, and I am curious as to what of the previous movies they will consider canon, or if they will try to work them all into being canon within this new path going forward. But in one of the Predators movie that with Adrian Brody, they kind of touched on the different clans and how there might be some sort of like internal battle, clan versus clan within the Yautja. And I think we could see a little bit more into that. And I do like, it's not just Deck that shows that Predators aren't just killing machines, because again, the hunts that we have seen them on, where they're hunting Arnold Schwarzenegger or they're hunting Danny Glover, it's not because they are evil savages. They are highly advanced, and they're just game hunters. They are gaming a species that is not their own, and that's the whole point. So it's not like they are incapable of emotion or attachments. And the beginning of this movie goes to show that Deck is not unique in this attachment that he has, that he can form with other beings, because his brother also has that. His brother cares deeply for him. Quay, his brother that you're introduced to in the beginning of the film, also has deep love for his brother. But then there are also some of these hard asses like their dad that care about the clan and moving forward. So there's kind of this internal strife that can happen within clans between these sort of, where they all have the same philosophy, but just different approaches to it. And then I hope that we can also entertain the sort of clan rivalry that may come from it. I'm interested to meet Deck's mother, but yeah, anyways, but I wanted to make sure that we got a chance to touch on it now that you had seen the movie. And absolutely highly recommend. Again, if you're watching this, we haven't spoiled everything. Even if we did and you haven't seen it, it's whatever. It's just worth the watch. You should definitely check it out. If you're a fan of movies, fan of action, fan of video games, absolutely give Predator Badlands a shot. Okay, it is 9:45 Central Time, the Lord's time. We have ran almost 4 hours this week. Sorry, 3 hours this week. Math is hard. And so thank you so much. Anything to say in closing, Jay?
Nope. Good to go.
I appreciate everybody that joined. Please, feel free to leave us any comments. Like, subscribe. Join us every Thursday, 8/7 Central. And yeah, I'll try to get some stuff edited, get it out there. Thank you for your support, and we will talk to you soon, at least no later than next Thursday.